Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, Paranormal Portal Podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Hi, everybody. If I didn't get to say Happy New Year to you last night, let me say Happy New Year to you tonight. I hope you're having a very good beginning of the new 2023. Let's hope this size fits a little bit better than the last one. So, hello, everybody. I am so glad to see Ted in here. Where have you been? We're so worried about you. I was just talking about you today. I said, my gosh, if we could, make sure that Ted's okay. So please send me an email, Ted, if you don't mind, journeythroughthegate@gmail.com, so I don't lose touch with you again. It really worried me that we didn't see. I hope you're okay. And we have my wonderful friend here is joining us, as always, on Monday Madness. This wonderful old rattlesnake, my good friend, Mr. Steve Stockton. Welcome in.
Hello,
Hi,
you
honey.
rattlesnake. I want my mapo.
Yeah. I want my mapo. I can remember my sisters doing that. Back then they had, those commercials they play, just like they do now, but they weren't as prevalent as they are now. And everybody saw them because you only had 3 channels.
Yeah.
So like the Nestle, you remember the dog puppet that used to sing Nestle, Nestles, Nestle is the very best chocolate.
The mapo was actually a little before my time, but I've heard it
too.
referenced enough. I know what it is.
Oh, Ted.
Sugar Bear was big when I was a kid. And,
Super Sugar Crisp.
And Honeycombs. Yeah, he's Super Golden Bear now. He sold out.
Yeah, you know what? He did change, didn't he? That wasn't Mandela, though. That was marketing.
No, that was because they didn't want sugar in the name when
every time
they
I see that
decided that breakfast cereals shouldn't have sugar in them. Every time I see this cup, the Tiger Lily sent me that.
I know. Every time I see that cup, though, I hear the song about Indiana wants me, Lord, I can't go.
But I can't back there. Yeah,
there
you go.
Yeah, remember that one? It was wanted in like 40 states or something. Yeah, it's a great song. These have some good songs. Well, hello to all you wonderful people in here. Julie, welcome in.
I just said hi to everybody. Said hi to
Dixon
Tiger Lily first, and I just said hello, friends.
Hey, Tiger Lily. Hey, Donnie. Hey, Dixon Doe.
But some good people here. Linda Dennison, Julie Van D, Donnie Cho,
Lindsay.
Ted Branston, the prodigal son, has returned home.
Yes, and I'm so glad. He said he was injured, but you're okay now. I'm so glad, because we didn't know, maybe the internet went out or electric went out, and you never know. So anybody, please
Paranormal Lindsay,
send me an email. Let me know it's you, and
Dixon
if anybody wants to do that, that'd be great. Just in case.
Belief.
Yep. Hey, Aunt Edna. She missed us live last night, but I saw your comment, sweetie.
Tom Linehan. Yeah, I watched a little bit of it, but I wasn't in the comments.
I got a hurt paw. But I'm okay. No, I'm okay.
What you do to your paw? Is Mario okay?
He's fine. That would have been my right. No, I got just arthritis. I'm just old, So I put this on basically just to remind me not to wash the CBD cream off, because after you and it gives it a little extra, but it's just my thumb. Yeah, it's just my thumb. It's all
funny, but I just ordered
wiring
a pair of fingerless gloves today, and that's what they were billed as, arthritis gloves. I don't have arthritis in my hands. I just wanted fingerless gloves, and that was the nicest looking pair. But I don't know if you caught part of my New Year's Eve mega stream, didn't you? I streamed across all time zones.
That was great, babe.
I played Mario's songs in there a couple times, and everybody loved them. So
That's
you
wonderful.
really let him know.
We sure will. Mario, if you're listening, they love the songs. One of them was Groove Walk with a
Groove
U,
Walker
Groove
and,
Walker, and
and Mind Warp was the
Mind
other.
Warp. And he
Now,
made those for you with you in mind because he knows you
I
love the synthesizers and
they're
stuff.
awesome. Now that was just him solo, right?
That's just him.
Okay, that was incredible. And I still said Mario of the big fat pet. What is it? The big fat
Big
Harry.
fat pet clams from outer space.
Yeah, and they have the sole distinction of being one of the few bands that played CBGBs every decade that it was in business.
There's only two. Blondie was one, which is a group. It's not just Deborah Harry, but Blondie and Big Fat Pet Clams are the only two bands that ever played all 3 decades at CBGB's. And again, if you ever been to CBGB's, what a hole that was.
It was a
Uh,
it was a sewer, and there was
yeah.
dog poop on the floor. Hilly's dog, he just let it run
Fleas
around in there and
everywhere.
pooped everywhere. There was fleas and poop,
I can't believe. Oh,
and if you
Mario
had
said
to go
thank
to the
you.
bathroom, you had to go to the bathroom. God help you.
God help you there. Yeah, there was no door. There was just one bathroom. And then I can't believe people ate the chili there.
I never ate
I
anything
can't
out
even.
of the kitchen. There
Ugh.
was other good food on the barrio. I was never brave enough to try the chili. I was afraid I wouldn't make it back home. That time I
Man.
was staying in Greenwich Village with a friend, couch surfing, and yeah, I don't think I could have made it back.
Ted's saying the internet, that's not reliable. Yeah, I know what you mean, sweetie, but I'm not joking. Send me an email if you want. If I don't get one, then I'll realize you just didn't want. But that way I can reach out. Hey, you okay? Or, if you
Might
need
send you an
something.
email telling you to mind your own business.
Yep. There you go. There you go. Yep. It's
I'm
funny
kidding.
though
That's
how
a good guy.
you think about people and then you don't see them for a while. Like with Jackie, I was able to reach out to her on another system and, make sure that she was okay. I mean, people come in and they go and that's just the way it is, but you get close to
Yeah,
people and
I
you
thought
just want to
about
know
that
that they're
today.
okay.
I was going back and reading some of the old comments on 13 Past Midnight. Daryl Fawcett, has
He said,
anybody
thank
heard
you.
from him lately?
Daryl. Yes. I saw him on my Facebook. Oh gosh, I want to say a couple days ago. I
And
did.
people come, people go.
Yeah.
John Surguy, he was missing in action for a long time. I've started hearing from him again recently. I
Thanks,
think he'd
Ted.
been ill or something, but
Mhm.
yeah, every now and then somebody will just pop into your head like, whatever happened? Because like Daryl,
Okay.
he was at every show, and then I haven't seen him in ages. So I'm glad he's still kicking.
I'm double checking. Because sometimes too, it's my fault because I get so many doggone emails. I just miss them. But I
Oh,
will
yeah.
definitely let me see.
Tell you, I don't even want to look at how many emails I've got. And of course, a lot of it's spam, but I hear from a lot of fans and people sending me stories. And let me go look at my Gmail right now. In my Gmail inbox, I have 29,943 unopened emails. So if you've sent me an email and I haven't heard
Okay.
back from you, send it again.
Okay, I got one here where you're calling me a donkey and something about I took your wrench away, but you still love me, love
I
Ted.
just poured coffee down my beard.
So let me send that back to you. Ha ha ha. That's awesome. And I guess you're back and you're good to go. So you're in there and you're starred. That way I'll see it. Okay.
Linda Lee Chavez is
Hey
here,
Linda.
and Johnny Cadable. I hope I'm saying that right.
Hey Johnny.
He was at my New Year's Eve
Oh,
stream, first time in, I think. And I was talking about your channel so much. Here he is. He said he was going to come check it out.
I'm so glad,
There he is.
Johnny. Welcome,
I
welcome. There
believe,
was a
if I remember
comment.
correctly, he's a truck driver and he listens while he's driving.
I drove trucks in the
That's another one.
Army.
Andrew and Gnomes Trucking. I haven't seen him in a while. Anybody know if
Yeah.
he's
Hey,
okay?
Andrew. He's out there listening. He's working hard. I'm sure he's
He's
listening to us.
doing a run from one end to the other. He drives coast to
Right.
coast sometimes, I think. So,
Excuse me while I do this. There was a comment today. If I can
I'm
work my
seeing
mess.
"Holy crap, Steve" and "Oh my God, Steve." What is that in reference to?
What is it? Holy
Uh,
crap, Steve.
I hope it wasn't just because I poured coffee down my beard. That happens a lot. Look at that. I've got enough
Oh,
hairspray in there to start an 80s metal band,
me.
Pantene. And I
Stick
finally
straight out.
figured it out. I've been spraying
Cat's
myself in
paw
the
Susan.
face, and that's the equivalent of macing yourself. And a
Oh, don't
friend of
do that.
mine, Bree, Thin Lizzy Borden, that does tarot readings over on Oracle
Mm-hmm.
card readings. Be sure and check that out. I think we got one coming up Saturday night. she's a cosmetologist, or used to be, and she said, "Goofy," she said, "spray it in your brush or spray it
Yep.
in your comb, and
Right.
then put it in." She said, "You don't want to spray that in your nose and mouth." She said, "Read the
No,
label." Oh my God,
it's
there's
true.
so many chemicals and glycol and all this
100%.
dangerous sounding stuff there, and I've been breathing it. No wonder I'm like I am.
I can sell what I don't use.
It's
And
funny. I'm I'm sorry. I'm looking up a comment that was on last night's show. It was absolutely wonderful.
Hey,
Okay.
Susan Woodcarver.
I was talking last night. I don't know if you got to catch any of the show, Steve, and that's fine if you didn't.
I
We were
did
talking
watch a
about
little bit of it.
Nostradamus, and I was talking about how some people in YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble, and all the Odyssey, and all of them out there, they do content or information shows, and a lot of them were putting out these like scare, fear things. Nostradamus said this, for 2023, all that kind of mess. So I watched a couple of them, doing research and documentaries and things like that. You'd be surprised how many documentaries I came up with that were being serious about it, but just putting out the wrong information from what I
Yeah.
had researched. So
Well,
I had to go
that's the
back and
thing
research
with his
again.
contrains. They're like little lines of poetry,
Yeah,
and they're in the original Italian, and you can translate them any number of ways depending
right.
on what you're using to translate them. And even when you translate it into English, it's still a poem, and
So
you have
true.
to figure out what he's talking about. So
Right. It's
some of them
100%
are
true.
pretty
He
close. I mean,
it was in French. He did French, and then he mixed Latin, and then he used anagrams. And the whole time he's doing this is because he didn't want them
French.
to
I said
use
they're
the
in Italian,
It's
but it
okay.
was French.
It's okay. And the thing is because somebody will come in, on the comments later and go, "Oh, was it?"
Yeah, it was
So,
French.
and it is what it is.
Look,
But
Steve Stockton.
even Nostradamus is up there going, "It matters not. It does not matter," But that
Hey,
was the
Ted
thing.
Branston.
Oh,
Happy
Ted!
New Year, Cisco. Holy
Oh
cow.
my gosh, what a
And
sweetheart!
that's
Oh, for
real
you and the
money.
waggy tails, you're a doll, sweetie. Thank you so much. From my waggy tails to your waggy tails. Thank you, darling. We love you so much for supporting this channel. Thank you, darling, so much. Thank you very, very much. And I'm so glad to see
Namaste,
your
Ted
furry
Branston.
face, your little furry face, because we just, again, I didn't want to get into your business. I just wanted to know that you were okay. And Susan, no joke, cat's claw works. I mean, even though I've got this on, you wouldn't believe how bad my hands would be if I wasn't taking that, and then that CBD cream that I use, it's got the 45 ratio, works really, really well. It's just that I had such a heavy holiday season doing floral and making bows, and you're twisting those little wires. You wouldn't be surprised how many wires a day you twist just for picks and stuff. So it's kind of rough when you're doing centerpieces because you got all those Christmas balls and gnomes and candy canes and holly and sap and but I
Sounds
was
too
very
much like work
pleased.
to me.
Yeah, I was very pleased to see that many people got centerpieces. The first, it starts with grave blankets, which is always very sad, but it's nice that people still do that. And then it went to the centerpieces, where I want to say 1,000, but that's probably an understatement. But that meant 1,000 people were having centerpieces on their table because they were celebrating a holiday. Oh, I'm so glad to hear, Lindsay. Yeah. And I want to know what your base is. So if you want, please DM me later and tell me where your baseline is right now so I can help you regulate. Because here comes, another season of whatever. And you can just up that to, for a couple of days to fight off, a flu or whatever, or cold. It's great once you know how to regulate it. It's fantastic. But yeah, without this, I wouldn't, without the claw, I wouldn't be able to do anything. My hands were going like this when my youngest was 5 years old. And I was also told I would have to have a hip replacement within 3 years or I would be in a wheelchair. And I never got a hip replacement. And that was about 30 years ago. So there you go. But so anyway, last night we were talking about Nostradamus, and I was talking about all of the different, where people were just giving out wrong information with this bold, kind of, putting it out there like it was real. And I was like, wow, that's just, it's either irresponsible or it's lazy or it's they just don't know and they are confident about the information because they got it from somebody that wasn't sure about it. And that's what kind of happens in this world. we get like a headline read and we think we understand the story, and then if you read the story, it's something totally different.
It's
Well,
like
in this
clickbait,
case,
or there's more to
yeah.
the story, or
Oh
something.
God, yeah. So much. And so much
Paul
fear.
Harvey, or the rest of the
The rest of the story is totally different. So I had said that one of them was Nostradamus put out one of his quatrains that supposedly fit and predicted the Great London Fire of 1666, I believe it was. I could be wrong on that, but I believe it was 1666. And 3 different shows said it was 1966, and I'm saying I'm pretty sure that I don't recall in 1966 London burning to the ground.
I don't recall a Great London Fire in '66.
Right. So the reason Steve and I love this shit. Don't we freaking love this shit?
We do.
That's our little thing. And this is why we do this. For this kind of thing, this was the cutest thing today. It's made me laugh like crazy. It's from Autistic Adventurer. If that's, your signal and you're out there hearing me, this, you made my morning with this. I am English and can confirm beyond any doubt that London didn't burn to the ground in 1966. Though many people here would probably say it wouldn't have been a bad thing if it had.
You got somebody copping to it there in the
face.
chat. Says, go Tom Lenahan.
Oh, that was you, Tom. I absolutely loved this. Oh my God. I was rolling. I said, this right here is why I do this. And you're such a cheeky monkey. I absolutely love it. Send me more. We love our comments. And thank you guys so much. And Ed and I got yours too, that she watched the show, and Happy New Year to all the gatekeepers and just everybody out there, that commented. And Carrie sent one, and Kevin and everybody. It's just wonderful to hear from you guys after the fact, or if you're not here for the live, throw in that comment, in there. It is just wonderful. So I appreciate it so much. And your Buffalo Bills are probably freezing to death right about now. God bless them all out there. And I wanted to say for our friend Pam, I don't want to tell her business, but one of her furry friends is in a little trouble. So if we could send some love and light and healing to both of them, and may that give them some strength to move through whatever they're going through right now. And I'd also like to ask and put out there for the intent that anyone that is helping with that situation, whether it be the vet or the vet's assistant or the person answering the phone or the people putting together medications, to touch their hearts and their minds, to open them up to whatever may help this situation. And I pray that be so. So may it be.
We'll
so may it be.
Hey, Yvonne Conte, welcome in.
So much fun tonight. I had a little vid. If you didn't see this, Steve, I kind of made this with you in mind too, because there's a couple things we've talked about over the time. So if you guys don't mind, it's a little 2-minute video that I made with some predictions that actually came true. And I wanted to see if Steve knew about one of them. I know you know about a couple, but I thought it'd be real interesting if you guys don't mind. You mind if I show it again? It's just a couple minutes.
I want to see it.
All right.
Yes.
So Steve and anybody that wasn't here last night can see it. Please forgive me if you saw it again. Ted, you're going to love it. Here we go. We told you so. Boy, I had that timing just right on that Journey Through the Gate tag, didn't I?
Yeah,
Boom.
you did. You left out one of my favorites, though. That's
Tell
the
me.
great Criswell.
Oh, you mean
God help us in the future. I think that was his tagline, or God help you people in the future.
God help you people in the future. Do you possibly mean this young man?
There we go. Criswell, he knew how to do it.
I did this just for Steve.
Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And remember, my friend, future events such as these will affect you in the future. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here. And now, for the first time, we are bringing to you the full story of what happened on that fateful day.
Have any of you ever heard of a movie called Plan 9 from Outer Space?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Never. What's it about?
It is about the resurrection of the dead.
Poor Johnson.
Oh my gosh.
Not my type of movie.
Nah,
Sorry.
Would you agree to be interviewed about Plan 9 from Outer Space? Have you ever heard of a
Wait, it gets better.
This is Jean Dixon. So many of you have asked me to interpret the stars for you. Now, I can give you your own horoscope 24 hours a day based on your birthday, even the year. All you need is a touch-tone telephone. You'll hear my special message for you about life, money, and love, also your future. But you must hear for yourself.
Call 1-900-999-2222 from a touch-tone phone. Only 85 cents a minute on your phone bill.
Call me now.
I remember those 900 lines of when that was.
Wow. Is
those
that
statute of limitations is probably run now, but place I used to work,
oh, that's funny.
I worked the day shift. I went in there at night, and I knew how to get a regular line out on the phone.
Mhm.
So I called one of those 1-900 lines from a phone in the back of the almost said the name of the place. Put it on hold and then just put it back. I wonder how big their phone
Big the
was.
bill. Oh gosh, what is it? 85 cents a minute or something like
I
that.
think what I
And
called was more than that. It was some kind of Dracula vampire, vampirific something line.
They'll just talk to you forever.
It's
You used to
around
be a number.
Halloween.
You could call for
and
the
there was a bunch
weather.
of people in there talking and chatting, and it
Yeah.
was like a chat line.
Yeah.
So until somebody figured out, why is there a call on hold here?
Oh my
And
gosh.
it could
Oh,
have
Steve.
gone all night. Maybe it did. I don't know. Well,
It could have. Yeah.
I had an axe to
I don't
grind,
even
had
know
a
what the
bone to pick.
statute of
upset me.
limitations on that.
I don't even know what that would be.
Fraudulent phone call. Well,
But
you
I
remember the
thought about
guy
that.
who
Go
did
ahead.
the black box, who did the tones, the guy who figured that's a real story. The black
yeah.
box where it had the tones.
Black box, a blue box, a red box.
Mhm.
I was a part of that
They threw him
community
in
back
jail.
in the 80s. And the DTMF, the dial tone MFers, was what we called ourselves.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, Miss
Miss Lynn.
Cleo. Yeah.
Yep.
I
But that
know a
was
few
a treat.
people today that would fit that description. I think I'll make up a channel and I'll do prophecies and predictions. I'm going to call myself Nostradamus, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to go in and predict stuff that I know 100% will be true.
Yeah.
It's
like
going to be
in the
hot this
future.
summer. You heard it here first.
See, in the future. The future is what we're all concerned about because that's where we're all going to be in the future.
Somewhere
and just
there
the
will
way
be a
he
bank
talked.
robbery in 2023. I guarantee it.
Guarantee it. Yep.
Nostradamus has spoken.
There's going to be weather. There will be weather.
There will be weather.
We're going to
Sometimes
have
it's
weather.
gonna rain. You watch and
Days
see.
will end in Y.
You heard it here first.
Yep. There will be a moon. You may not be able to see it because of the weather. That's definitely coming. But yeah, that's just, again, it's one of those funny things. But
And then some of those people do generalize and stuff. And some people are hucksters and hoaxsters and in there to make a quick buck. Harry Houdini tried desperately to contact his mother after her passing, and he found out they were all frauds and phonies pretty much. And then he made a life's work out of exposing them. among other things. He was also
Yep.
like a CIA agent or forerunner to the CIA. He was a spy for the government.
Nostradamus. There you go. That's a good one. Yeah.
But
I just live in the past. Ted just lives in the past.
I
Ed Wood.
Ed
Ed
Wood,
Wood.
Glenda.
Now that was he made a lot of movies that were just kind of really off, and that was one of the characters, right? Because I had never heard of him until you sent me that
Well,
gift the
Criswell
other day.
narrated Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Okay, I didn't know
And
because
he
I never saw
appeared
the
in it
movie.
too. He was a part of Ed Wood's entourage. Watch Ed Wood the movie by what's his name, with Johnny Depp and Bill
Okay.
Murray and all those people in there. That's a very accurate portrayal. What's the guy that Space 1999? Martin Landau, I think.
Okay, yeah,
He got,
I remember that.
I think he got an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for playing Bela Lugosi in that movie. But
Wow.
Ed made some stuff with Bella, and he never saw any success when he did. They found him dead. He was working on a script. He lived in a little apartment in Hollywood, and they said he literally looked like he'd been frightened to death. That people have always wondered what he saw.
Oh,
But
wow.
it scared him.
Wow.
But he would love it now. I mean, he's a legend. His movies are so bad they're good. In Knoxville, Tennessee, they used to have a thing called the World's Worst Film Festival, and they showed several Ed Wood movies. Plan 9, Glen or Glenda. What some of the other ones were.
That's interesting. I'll have to watch it now.
They're all so terrible they're worth watching. They'll laugh a minute.
You stupid human. I have to watch it now. But see, I didn't know anything about it. I'd seen the movie. Well, I didn't see the movie Ed Wood. It was just something I didn't watch, the one with Johnny Depp. And then I started thinking, what is this all Ed Wood stuff? Because there's this whole genre back in that day.
Tim Burton's the one that made it, and it is a masterpiece.
Is it really good?
I
have to
don't care
watch
what
it.
anybody says. It really gives you a look behind the scenes of one of Hollywood's most seminal characters.
See, I have to find out what this is because I saw him doing this whole thing and I couldn't record it for you because, I would have got copyright thing. But it was this whole thing he did, with the spit curl, the platinum blonde hair with the spit curl. And he did this whole thing so serious, but it was such a bunch of gobbledygook he was saying. But he said it was such conviction.
Such authority. I really believe he believed what he was saying. Elvira, she was in Plan 9 from Outer Space.
It's crazy.
Tor Johnson, the wrestler, the big guy he saw trying to extricate himself from that grave. I mean, there's scenes in the graveyard where
I don't know.
They're knocking them or fall them over and stuff.
That's crazy. Do you know anything about that one?
I don't know for sure about that.
I hadn't heard of that. Maybe somebody in the chat knows.
I know that Bela Lugosi's house there in whichever canyon it was in was for sale for a while, and it had stained glass windows and stuff that he had put in there. Someday I'm going to own that house.
Yeah. I look at all those ones that you put up on Facebook, like those old Victorian ones that are just all blacked out. And I'm like, God, I would love that so much. I look at it and I think, oh gosh, I could decorate that for Christmas. It would look gorgeous.
I look around in different places. Berlin, New Hampshire, I believe it is. Is it in Vermont? I think it's in New Hampshire, Berlin, wherever that's at. Not the one in Germany.
Not the one in Germany.
Those old Victorian houses there for like $120,000. I mean, big.
Oh gosh.
Multi-room, gigantic old show places, 10-foot ceilings and stuff.
I wonder
I'd
why.
love to move to some small town like that. Well, I'd say it's probably not that cheap because it's such a wonderful neighborhood. But I guarantee you, if you painted your house black and made it look like the Addams Family, people would probably leave you alone.
If not right away, eventually. Just saying.
Couldn't handle the winters up there, but that'd be a good summer house. What do you think, Tiger Lily? We're trying to figure out where we're going to go when it's warm and then where we're going to go when it's cold. We need at least 2 houses. She likes Phoenix for the winter time, so I'm okay with that.
Yep, that sounds good. That's good. I've always wanted to go to Arizona. I want to see Santa Fe. I think it would be absolutely gorgeous,
Yeah.
But I wanted to share this with you before I play
Santa
the
Fe's in
bid.
New Mexico, though. Don't mean to correct you there.
When the song that I played for you guys, I'm sorry I was late. I usually play 2 or 3 to get you all, in the mood and whatever. But I got that one played for you, and it was by Kevin MacLeod, and the name of it was Puka. And I wanted to share this with you guys. Wait a minute. Let me see. Hold on. Let me do it the right way here. I figured this out last time. Let's see if Cisco can remember this shit. Okay. Look at me go. All right. Look at there. Look at this. The puka. What is a puka? A puka is a mischievous spirit from Irish folklore. It is often portrayed as taking the form of an animal, such as a rabbit or a horse, and is known for playing tricks on humans. In some stories, the puka is said to be a benign but mischievous spirit, while in others it is portrayed as more malevolent, with the ability to bring harm to those who cross its path. The puka is also associated with the other world, a realm of magic and mystery in Irish mythology. So the cool part about that is, if you guys didn't know, I don't know if those are pukas. They don't look like pukas to me, but that's okay. But one of the cool, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe that is a puka. I don't know. But the the funny part about that is that the first time I ever heard of a puka was in the movie Harvey. And it was really neat the way they described it. She described it very much like that, because, of course, you had to understand that for the movie, that Harvey, although you couldn't see him, I think he was really there. And he would pull all these little mischievous tricks on people, like hide their keys so they couldn't go somewhere, or moving stuff around and different things like that, And it was just very interesting. If you've not seen the movie Harvey, please God, before they make a remake of that and ruin it.
Yeah, no,
please
it'll
watch
be
it.
Disney-fied.
Oh,
It'll be stupid.
It'll be so stupid.
Speaking of spirits that do things like that, over on my 13 Past Midnight channel, Christmas Eve, we had a Christmas Eve warning, and it was about a little thing called the Tomty. Susan Woodcarver wrote it, and it moves things around. You have to leave rice pudding or something out for it with a pat of butter on it. Or
wow.
In the original telling of the tale, it wouldn't bother your keys and stuff, but it would kill your cow. So you had to appease the Tomty.
Well, I'll tell you what, I thought that was really neat, and I wanted to mention the movie Harvey, because that's definitely one. If you haven't seen that, and Arsenic and Old Lace, please do yourself a favor and watch that.
Ruin that one too.
Yeah. Some of these things you can't remake. I mean, you've seen some of the remakes they've tried to do, and it ruins it every time.
Leave the originals alone. Go make something new.
Yep.
They're busy making comic book movies now, so they can do that and leave their classics alone.
When he's in that. Well, I don't want to tell you the end, but there's a point in time toward the end where you kind of look at it, you go, oh my God, he's real. The whole time you're just thinking everybody's crazy. The way they did it was just wonderful.
Now there is a movie called Donnie Darko that was kind of a very darker version of Harvey.
Really?
You've never seen that? Yeah, you might want to check that out.
I've heard of the movie, but I never saw it. Bell, Book, and Candle. Yeah, that's another good one. You bet it is.
Yeah, don't remake that.
And The Little Shop Around the Corner.
What was the one where Don Knotts was the fish? Incredible Mr. Limpet.
Incredible Mr. Limpet. Excellent.
Don't remake that one ever.
Oh, and it's funny you
the
said
Ghost
that.
of Mr. Chicken. Leave that one alone.
Oh, fantastic. That was about a haunted house. If you've not seen Ghost of Mr. Chicken, please watch that one.
And it had a lot of the cast from the Andy Griffith Show in there too.
Yeah, it did.
Remember the old ladies that went around, the spiritualism ladies that
I'm
seance.
trying to remember it all. Gosh, it's been a while. I need to watch that one again too. Yeah.
Attaboy, Luther.
There was yesterday, or was it this morning? It seems like yesterday, this morning. One of the YouTube channels I watch, and I cannot remember the name. It's like Tracing History or In History's Footsteps or something like that. He's a great young man, beard, usually baseball cap, goes around, did a lot of stuff in Gettysburg lately, went to Germany, did stuff there. It's a wonderful channel, much like Faces of the Forgotten. It's just well done YouTube channel. And he put on, I believe it was him, a snapshot of Don Knotts' gravesite. It's one of the most beautiful tombstones I've ever seen. And I've seen some really pretty ones. But this one is done, and it's got a brass plate And on the brass plate is etched all of his characters that he did in beautiful etching. It's amazing. And it has next to it the different names. And, you can tell the incredible Mr. Limpet with the little round glasses. It was so well done, just to look at that and see this man's life just put on. It was an amazing way
And
to
most sadly,
honor
most
a
people
lifetime.
just know him as Barney Fife.
Yeah.
But he was on Three's Company. He was
Mhm.
on a character actor on a lot of different
He
shows.
did stand
He
up
did
to
all
start.
those movies. He was a stand-up
Mhm.
comedian. That's how Andy Griffith
Hi, baby.
discovered him.
Yep. We got a visitor, spirits visiting us. They've been sitting in this chair. It's so funny. Like they know when I'm going to do a podcast, they'll come in here and sleep in the chair. And then they've got a little blanket folded up and they come and put themselves to bed on the floor so they could be here with y'all. And it's just amazing. But
Same. Mr. Mulder's got a bed,
is he there?
a
Where's
body
where's
pillow, and a blanket over
Biddens?
here. He's right. Bittens, I have to leave her out of here. She likes it in there by the fireplace anyway, but Mulder likes to chase the cat around if she gets in here. He's just playing, but he'll start barking and stuff and interrupting the show. And now he's just laying over here asleep. So
Hey, Mulder. How
he's
you
being
doing?
a good boy.
Well, ask him if he wants to go have a cigarette because I've got a little documentary here. Now, last night we did a little on Nostradamus, and I definitely want to get Steve's thoughts on him. We were talking about the quatrains and the way I explained it last night. And by no means am I an expert. This is just my opinion. I think it's easier to take a riddle that's already, nobody knows what was in his head at the time. And I can attest to the fact that Nostradamus didn't even know what was in his head because he would go into these trances. He would have his brass bowl, and I get hiccups. He'd have the water. He used some kind of a stick. He also used dowsing rod. So I'm not sure what he used. You'd have to ask an expert on that. But he moved it across the water. And the patterns of his energy and intent would move and ripple the water. He would start to go into a trance. And sometimes he would go into these trances and was writing during his trance. And he would come back and look at what he wrote and then try to decipher what he wrote because a lot of times he didn't even remember what he saw. So can you imagine? Now we're taking 500 years later, taking words that somebody wrote. And when they wrote them, it's like we wrote stuff in the dark in the middle of the night by the bedside table and try to decipher it in the morning. I mean, and now you've got experts 500 years later telling you he's definitely talking about this and they make that fit. Then they make this fit. There was some things like the thing with the king, with the jousting, that blew
it's
my
easy
mind.
to connect the dots in reverse, but there is some stuff that he was
he did
dead on about. And he produced or predicted the rise of Hitler, but he got it one letter off. He had Histler written down.
Yeah, in some cases he did. And they say that's the old name for the Danube River.
Yeah,
so he was playing on it. But again, you have to get into the guy's mind. And I think you would have to almost study his whole life and understand what he was thinking when he was.
I've done that. I used to keep a pad and pen by my bed. I'd dream something. I'd wake up and write it down, go back to sleep. And then I'd wake up in the morning, and be like Snake wearing a vest chasing a jelly donut or something. That's from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but
he did
be something like that. And then I tried the little recorder, and then that couldn't even understand what I was saying.
Yeah,
but it made
and see
sense.
that creeps me out. I don't want to put like a voice activated or a sound activated recorder next to my bed. I don't want to hear that. I mean, I've heard stuff before.
Anything in here, I don't want to know about it since I have to sleep here.
And you stir it up too. I think a lot of investigators and people that are into this will say, I don't investigate my own house. I think in some ways you activate. I don't know how you guys feel about that. But, when I started getting cameras and stuff in here and I started seeing lights and stuff going on and off on their own and my TV and stuff, I just saged everything, salted everything and said, quit it. Because if you're trying to get my attention, you can do that. You can do it in other ways. We need something a little bit more in my face and I'll help you. But if you're just here to create havoc, I'm not having any of it. And it stopped. So, I gave them the choice. If you want my attention, you have it now. Come tell me what you need.
My background keeps changing, but my light is constant. So I don't know what's going on.
That's really cool. It's your energy, baby. It's just that energy. It's hard to contain that energy.
It
you
is.
know. So, all right. So I'm going to play this. This is Edgar Cayce. Now, here's another one of my favorites. And now, by all means, we're laughing and we're making fun, and I'm saying stuff about Nostradamus. I'm not saying he didn't make any accurate predictions. He made a lot of them. What I'm saying is, keep that in mind if you happen upon a YouTube channel or a news channel or something else, or documentary, God bless us, on History Channel or something, that says that Nostradamus says that this is coming in the year 2023. Take it with a grain of salt. You see what I'm saying? Just don't buy into the fear.
And I'm going to throw
I
this
believe
out
it can
there
be changed.
real quick. But do you know who else has had probably the most accurate predictions of anybody?
Hit me up.
The Simpsons.
Yes. I was going to
If you
do
go
a
and
thing
watch
on
some
that.
of those YouTube videos
Mhm.
about predictions, I mean, the Simpsons made predictions back in
Yep.
'95
Almost
and
makes you
earlier.
wonder who's behind
Is
that.
it predictive programming? Somebody knows something, because they've gotten just posters, and it's stuff in the background, stuff you have to look for and listen for sometimes. But there it is. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
And make sure you see it on the Simpsons too, because there's, again, a lot of stuff on the tubes. I mean, I pulled a lot this morning because I was going to try to talk about that, the predictions, and you try to do it with like GIFs or, little screenshots, because otherwise, they're going to, it's like doing something with Disney or something. I can get away with a GIF, but I can't like record something, because then that's it. It's over.
And
But
something else that's been eerily accurate, I think it was Steve Jackson Games. There was an Illuminati card game. Do you remember that? And then on this, it was like a playing card game. It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but in card format. And a lot of those cards would have things that later came to pass. Look up the Illuminati card game.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up.
And it's strange that it was Illuminati, and he was just making it tongue in cheek. But then a lot of the situations on those cards actually came to pass.
Ted, are you kidding me? He's saying the doctors wouldn't stitch him up as his blood dripped on the floor. I'd have given you stitches, sweetheart. You should have come to me. I'd had you all fixed up and half drunk in a chair, comfy in front of a fire with your feet up and a furry animal on your lap. We have good doctoring here at the Cisco Hospital.
I stitched my leg up one time on a boat. All I had was fishing line, fish hook that I bent the barb off of with a pair of pliers, and a bottle of Jack Daniels for an antiseptic and an anesthetic.
There you go.
Pour some on my leg, pour some down me.
Both
Guy had a fiberglass boat. I sliced my leg open on the flashing, and my shoe was literally full of blood. But they didn't want to stop fishing because they were getting a lot of bites.
Man after my own heart, Ted.
Poured the Jack on it, stitched it up myself, and then later went to the emergency room. And the guy that took those out and stitched me up said, "Buddy, you actually did a pretty good job."
Yeah. And that's the thing. I started early when my mom cut her leg open with a machete. And that, oh man, that was fun. I was in making cherry Kool-Aid. Never drank cherry Kool-Aid after that. I wonder why. She came in and she was bleeding all over the floor. And when she finally got to the doctor pulled all the stuff that I had put on it off and said, "You know what? It's already healing. There's nothing, staples or whatever. I'm not going to mess with it. We're just going to let it roll, because whoever did this did a good job." She said, "My 9-year-old daughter did it." Well, here's your bill. But yeah, that's a rough stitch. Boy, I used to keep the boys in line. I said, we don't have any insurance. So if you guys are going to skateboard off the roof, you better go start boiling thread first, because I'm fixing it.
Yeah.
That's just
Dixon,
the way it was.
I want to comment on your comment there. She says she's seen a ghost in almost every home she's ever lived in so far. Same here. And I came to the conclusion a few years ago that it's not the places, it's me.
Yeah.
I'm going to see them and experience them and encounter them and hear them and whatnot wherever I go. So I don't think it matters where you live.
People are just starting to realize that too. And it's like, often I'll ask people like, "Well, he got an EVP going to this house. I think it's George who, was, killed by his tractor." And I'm like, "Well, how do you know it's George? First of all, you got 2 words that might sound like a male, but how do you know you didn't bring the person with you?" And you're paying attention. So they're talking into you. Again, there's so many layers, you know what I mean? We can't be definite on any of it.
If you've got stuff that follows you around and you go into stuff where there's other stuff, then your stuff talks to that stuff. It's like your ghost go visiting. So
Yep. Yep. Oh, super glue. I've never been a big fan. I'm a big fan of stitches though, and pulling stuff together. Those little butterfly things, it's like an art, putting it all back together where it was, and making sure it's all clean. We could talk wounds all night. I'm here to tell you. I had to
That's super
cut
glue
my
work.
knee open at a powwow one night at the powwow at the bonfire, and you'd be surprised how many people were like getting woozy, and I'm like, y'all call yourselves tough.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, I used to be a
Heating
bass
up a
player
buck knife in the fire, man.
in goth, punk, and metal bands. And when you play bass, especially if you're a thumb player,
Oh,
you
there
get
you
a
go.
big callus on your thumb.
And then the
One
winds.
time had just finished a set, and went
Mic
back
drop.
in the back, and we're getting ready to come back on, and I had knocked that callus off my finger. And you talk about something that hurt. So I asked the barkeep, there's somebody there, do you got any super glue? They gave me some super glue. I mean, it was hanging by a thread.
Oh,
And I glued the callus back on my thumb and finished that show, the next
there
set.
you go.
But
That's-
sometimes you do what you got to do.
That's professional, baby.
Yeah, you got
That's
to be a little
professional.
badass there
But
sometimes.
Aunt Edna wins. Aunt Edna's got the mic drop right here. We're going to shut up now. There you go. There you go.
Delivered herself
Probably
out in
got
the
up and
garden,
did the dishes afterwards.
had the
knowing
baby,
Aunt Edna.
gave it a bottle, and went back to picking peas or
Yep.
shelling corn or whatever she was doing.
If Vixen says if a goat shows up in her RV, she's got to do a deeper dive into things. I don't blame you, honey. Boy, you got that. You're living my dream right there, Vixen. Though I'd go get a Varga and a heartbeat and a horse.
Tiger Lily and I have talked about that. Getting one of those
double-barreled
Sprinter
shotgun.
vans, just outfitting it as a mobile studio when you do stop for a little while, and just travel all over the place and go to all these unusual places and ghost towns and everywhere. So maybe a
stories of the ER.
Steve Stockton and Tiger Lily mobile studio is in our future.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's you grow up in the country and you go in, and I've been lucky enough to live almost like a lot of different lives in one, living with different families and, having the kind of life I did. And, it's like funny, you go into the country and you're sick. The next thing you know, you're brought into the kitchen and given a bunch of castor oil. And I think that's just to find out if you're really sick or not, because if you're going to take that castor oil, you're probably getting out of school because you're hurting drinking. It's like hard to swallow oil.
Dad's mom, she was an herb doctor. They called her a yarb doctor back in the hills. And when the measles were going around, she gave all her kids, all 5 of them, sheep manure tea. And I asked my dad, did it work? And he said, oh, you bet it worked. He said, I wouldn't have let on if I was sick because I'm afraid I'd get another dose of that. And he said there was some things if you weren't feeling very good, be quiet. You'd get a dose of castor oil or something like that. And that was worse than whatever's wrong with you. Better just to be quiet. He had something one time, I don't remember what it was, thought he was going to die and went and hid because he didn't want the castor oil. But he obviously lived. He was just a little kid. But
oh my gosh, that's so funny. Wow.
And one of my poor aunts, she got chicken pox. So they laid her in front of the threshold of the door, brought a chicken in the house, and then ran the chicken out over her.
I knew it. Started making dinner.
Had the baby, got up, took a shower, started making dinner.
Yep, that's
Come on, baby, I got stuff to do. You're gonna have
stuff to do.
I'll be back. Don't worry about it.
That's right. Oh, that's funny. Oh gosh, the stuff we've done, man. Yeah. Holy shit.
So hillbillies.
I think the best one was
me
walking past my sons with a bottle of Jack and a pair of pliers and saying, I'm going to go sit in a cold shower and pull this tooth out. If I don't come out of the bathroom, send in the Marines. And they just like, what?
Hey, are you kidding me? Happy New Year there.
Hey, Happy New Year, sweetheart.
The Greek Elvira, look at her. She's got that whole
Davey, if I didn't say hi to you, hello, sweetie. And Donnie says he's interested in the Edgar Cayce too. So I'm going to see if this is the right one now. It's the best time promoter.
Now, does it tell the backstory and everything on it?
It does.
Okay.
That's
fascinating.
That's fascinating, I think. And there's a couple of little things in here I found extremely important for this group, and see if you can pick them out, because there was like 2 things in here. I just like, okay, that's outstanding. I have to make sure I get this. And I was so glad when YouTube let me put this up, because it's an old doc, but it's really good.
Not give anything away. It does tell how he discovered he had the powers, right?
I believe so. Okay. I believe so. If not, you could tell it when we're back.
Okay. That's
How's
one
that
of my
sound?
favorite
It's in two
parts of
parts. The
history.
first one's like 14 minutes and another one's 10 minutes. And then
Okay.
we'll talk
Take
some fun stuff.
Mulder out here. He's
All
up
right,
looking
sweetheart.
around now, so I will be right back. But I'm going to listen in on my phone.
Okay,
Right
sweetie.
here with me.
Okay.
I will listen in.
All right, here we go.
From ancient cultures to the modern day, the mysteries of the future have been sought by many and seen by a select few. Prophecy has a rich and controversial history, but who is its most enduring figure? Without a doubt, the most famous is Nostradamus. Known as the prophet of doom for his dark visions of the future, Nostradamus used astrology and magic to look across space and time. And even in his day, he was considered one of Europe's most important visionaries.
Nostradamus was a very famous person in his own time. Even before he started writing the things that made him famous, he was the court physician and astrologer to the Queen of France.
A physician, an astrologer, but also a seer, Nostradamus was a Renaissance man in more ways than one. But more than 400 years after his death, he is remembered mostly for his book, Les Prophéties, a collection of 1,000 visionary poems he wrote between 1555 and 1558.
He planned 10 volumes, 1,000 predictions, of which only 942 survive. And they basically look at the profound flows and inclinations of the future. They're not written in stone. There are hundreds of prophecies that indicate alternative futures.
Nostradamus' material is clearly clothed in symbology and arcane references and open to different interpretations.
But many of them proved eerily accurate, especially those that were fulfilled in Nostradamus' lifetime. His most famous one predicted the death of the King of France in a jousting tournament 4 years before it happened. In 1559, Henry II confronted the young Count Montgomery in a jousting tournament.
The young lion, he will surmount the old one on the field of combat in single battle told.
Both men carried shields emblazoned with lions.
The younger lion, Count Montgomery, did not lower his jousting stick soon enough, which pierced through the golden visor of the king. He will pierce his eyes through a cage all golden. Count Montgomery, his jousting stick split into large splinters, one wounding the king in the throat, another just behind the eye, blinding him and going into his brain. The final line gives us the denouement, the epilogue to all of this. 2 wounds become 1, then dying in cruel death's cold. The king lingered for 10 agonizing days, and he finally died from peritonitis of the brain.
It's believed that Nostradamus also predicted the French Revolution. From the enslaved people, songs, chants, and demands. In the future, by such headless idiots, these will be taken as divine utterances. The rise and fall of the Emperor Napoleon. From the simple sojourn, he will aspire to empire. From a short robe, he will aspire to the long. And Hitler's rise to power. The greater part of the battlefield will be against Easter. When the child of Germany observes nothing. He also had ominous visions of the new millennium. The year of the great seventh number is accomplished, appearing at the time of the games of slaughter. Not far from the age of the great millennium, when the dead will come out of their graves. So far, this dark vision of our times has not come to pass. But Nostradamus continues to reign as one of the world's greatest prophets.
Why people get so convinced that Nostradamus knew what he was talking about is that once you set an interpretation on a given quatrain and you think you know the historical event that it refers to, it's really hard to see that there could have been other alternatives that would have worked just as well.
Nostradamus remains a controversial prophet, but across the Channel in Yorkshire, England, another seer was having visions of the future, and hers were vivid images of what was to come.
Mother Shipton was a contemporary of Nostradamus. She was born in the late 1400s and died in 1561, just about 5 years before Nostradamus.
In verse, Mother Shipton is said to have given detailed descriptions of a future that was yet to unfold.
And now a word in uncouth rhyme of what shall be in future time. Around the world men's thoughts will fly, quick as the twinkling of an eye. Beneath the water men shall walk, shall ride, shall sleep, shall even talk. For in these wondrous far-off days, the women shall adopt a craze to dress like men and trousers wear, and cut off their locks of hair.
It is said she also predicted the Second World War and the end of the world as we know it.
In 1926, build houses light with straw and sticks, for then shall mighty wars be planned, and fire and sword shall sweep the land. For those who live the century through, in fear and trembling this shall do, for storms shall rage and oceans roar when Gabriel stands on sea and shore, and as he blows his wondrous horn, old worlds shall die and new be born.
Was she predicting the future or simply imagining it?
Prophets, if they were archers, what they would do is shoot an arrow into the wall and then have somebody paint a target around it. They let out this vague kind of statement that could be read multiple ways, and they rely on their hearers to put the interpretation into it that fits best for them.
But there is still another prophet whose chilling prediction continues to echo across the centuries and resounds all the more ominously today. St. Malachi's prophecy of the popes. St. Malachi was a bishop who lived in 12th century Ireland. On a visit to Rome in 1139, he was struck by a vision. Before him appeared a series of Latin phrases identifying the 111 popes who would rule the Catholic Church until the end of time.
He uttered 111 Latin mottos, which are supposed to represent the nature, the name, or destiny, or the coat of arms of every pope until Judgment Day.
Many of these phrases are considered too precise to be mere coincidences. John the 23rd, the 107th Pope in the prophecy, is referred to as Pastor et Nautum, pastor and sailor. Before becoming Pope in 1958, he was the Patriarch of Venice, a marine city. Paul VI is Flos Florum, flower among flowers. His coat of arms, a lily among lilies.
John Paul II, who is called De Labor Solis in the Prophecies, which means the sun's eclipse, the sun's labor. He is the only pontiff on the list that was born on an eclipse and later entombed during an eclipse.
And the 111th and final Pope in the prophecy?
De Gloria Olivae, from the glory of the olive. That's the current Benedict XVI.
At the end of the list, Malachi is said to have uttered a final and ominous phrase. This one, unnumbered. During the final persecution, the seat of the Holy Roman Church will be occupied by Peter the Roman, who will feed the sheep in many tribulations, after which the seven-hilled city will be destroyed, and the terrible judge will judge his people. The end. Is Malachi describing the end of the Catholic Church or the end of the world as we know it? Is Peter the Roman the last pope after the current Pope Benedict XVI? Some experts believe that since the motto is unnumbered, they are actually one and the same. St. Malachi, Nostradamus, and Shipton, they all predicted events that have since become history. But who are today's foretellers, and what can they tell us about our fate?
8, 15, 22, 29.
Robert Zoller is a medieval astrologer, a modern-day Nostradamus. For 30 years, he's been looking to the stars to decipher the future. And he's made some predictions of astounding accuracy.
America will have a new president, and he will be in the stamp of Bush, a younger, more inexperienced version from the same house. There is an increasing threat to the U.S. citizens, and this is particularly so on the eastern seaboard. If the U.S. does not cease acting incompetently, it will invite the depredations of adventurers such as Osama bin Laden and Saddam. The greatest period of danger is in September 2001.
Coincidence, or do the stars actually predict the future?
Number is actually the key to astrology. The sequence of integers between 1 and 9, and later the addition of 0, was seen by some of the ancients as being the basic principles whereby being became articulated into something. Astrology rests upon this kind of thinking. The signs themselves come down to number.
Why it seems to work, no one knows. But many ancient civilizations also believed the stars and nature held the answers to many of life's mysteries.
The Mayans and the Hopis, as virtually all indigenous people throughout the world, were very connected to the sky. The Mayans in particular were very sophisticated in noticing the rhythms of the heavens and building elaborate calendars with great accuracy.
The Mayan calendar, which was designed in order to calculate the seasons, was also a prophetic tool. The calendar ends abruptly on December 21st, 2012. And Mayan prophecy describes dark events surrounding that time.
The face of the sun will be extinguished because of the great tempest.
In a similar way, another Native American culture, the Hopis, have a prophecy that there would be times of great destruction, a day of great purification.
These are the signs that great destruction is here. The world shall rock to and fro. The white man will battle people in other lands, those who possess the first light of wisdom. The fourth world shall end soon, and the fifth world will begin.
The Hopi Indians in their final warnings are saying the world has been destroyed and reborn at least 4 times. Many native traditions say 4 times, and we're entering the 5th time.
But according to some, these common themes in prophecy are nothing more than patterns of history.
All prophets are predicting similar sorts of things. They're essentially talking about how history sort of repeats itself and you get the same sorts of things in cycles.
Perhaps, but there is one man whose prophetic and predictive talents continue to baffle even the most hard-nosed skeptics.
Okay, this is where we start getting into Cayce. I thought that first part was real important because it does pinpoint a lot of different prophets. And the main point, this is point number 1 I wanted to pull out of this, is listen to what they said in the Hopi and the Native American. There's almost every I hate to say recognized tribe, because as far as I'm concerned, all tribes should be recognized, but they all have a similar story. But listen to how they say it. The 4th world will be done and the 5th will come in. So this means that what we're going through now, this world has gone through multiple times before. So when you start hearing that there's a change, there's an end, understand with every end there is a beginning. And we talked about that last night. We talked about light and manifesting positive. And I feel that it's an ascension. It's a change. There has to be, because you see where, a lot of people are going. We has to get back to the natural, and natural ways are basically the way nature is, everything plays off itself and everything is in harmony. And right now we're not in harmony. We've been out of tune a long time. Let's put it that way. So I wanted you to kind of focus on that. And now we're getting into Cayce. I hope you don't mind me stopping that, but I thought it was a good point.
With his 8th grade education, he uncovered secrets of our past that no historians could have known. He predicted wars, diagnosed and cured illnesses, and saw cataclysmic changes to our planet that only scientists could have described. And he did it all in his sleep. For 43 years of his life, a man named Edgar Cayce had the amazing ability to put himself in a trance and provide individuals with detailed information about virtually anything they asked about the present, the past, or the future.
Edgar Cayce is probably the most profoundly important clairvoyant of all time.
He was clearly the most gifted psychic of the 20th century.
He predicted the Second World War, the deaths of presidents, the future of medicine, and diagnosed illnesses in his sleep. His psychic readings, 14,306 of them, are all archived and cataloged at the Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach, Virginia. They remain the most massive collection of psychic material collected from a single source.
Edgar Cayce didn't give 10, 20, 500 readings in his career. He gave 14,000. Think of a Las Vegas stage performer having to come up with a different routine twice a day, every day for 45 years. It's just not possible.
Edgar Cayce gave readings about many, many different subjects. Nostradamus wasn't quite as eclectic.
But like Nostradamus, Cayce was very sought after in his lifetime. And like his French counterpart, he also remained humble about his ability.
Both of them were men who were deeply committed to a life of compassion and service to others. Both were very interested in health and healing. Nostradamus was a physician. Edgar Cayce was an intuitive diagnostic physician of sorts.
Edgar Cayce and Nostradamus both started as healers, but later became more famous as prophets.
Edgar Cayce's amazing destiny takes root in 1877 near Hopkinsville, a small town of tobacco farmers in rural Kentucky.
Edgar Cayce's family was typical of middle-class American rural people at the turn of the 20th century. They made their living primarily from the production of dark tobacco, wheat and corn and livestock. They were church-going people on Sunday, a straightforward, dignified people, the men of whom were certainly given to the heavy use of tobacco and occasional strong drink.
Cayce was a seriously odd child. He was not the kind of child you would wish on any two parents.
As a child, he was surprised to discover that other children didn't have the same sort of experiences that he had.
As a boy, Edgar often had visions as he sat in the woods reading his Bible. After his grandfather drowned on the farm pond, young Cayce reported seeing him regularly around the farm. Little Edgar is also said to have had the uncanny ability to memorize entire books by sleeping on them.
Had he been born in different circumstances and not a little rural community, Edgar could very easily have been, sold as a circus act. He was completely surrounded by people who loved him, people who protected him.
His most amazing talent, which earned him the name Sleeping Prophet, would surface years later when Cayce was in his early 20s. While working as an insurance salesman, he developed a severe case of laryngitis. Unable to speak, Cayce took a job as a photographer. In the darkroom, he wouldn't be required to talk much, but as his condition persisted, he finally decided to seek help.
At that time, Edgar had had some friendship association with Dr. Al Lane, a homeopathic physician. And Dr. Lane suggested to young Edgar, why not self-impose hypnosis?
What happened next would set Cayce's destiny in motion.
It was on the 30th of March, 1901, in a two-story brick house on West 7th Street in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, that Edgar Cayce lay upon a couch in a contemplative and meditative situation and self-imposed hypnosis. And then, before his parents and maybe a few others in the room, astounded everyone by describing what was wrong with his throat and prescribing treatment for it. The first reading, March 30th, 1901.
In his sleep, Cayce had spoken in a clear voice and described in detail his ailment and the cure. Soon doctors and patients were coming from far and wide to be diagnosed and cured by the man with the X-ray eyes.
One of the amazing things about Edgar Cayce's health readings is the piercing nature of his vision into an individual's body. He would read the body as though he were an X-ray machine. And the terminology that he used was quite medical. It's quite amazing.
In 1905, Cayce told surgeons how to fix the badly broken leg of a local man, George Dalton, by inserting a nail into the break.
The doctors had said Dalton would never walk again. He did. To our knowledge, That was the first time in medical history of the use of a nail.
And in the summer of 1911, when doctors told Cayce his own wife Gertrude would surely die of a severe case of tuberculosis, she followed his treatment and quickly recovered. Cayce's fame as a healer grew fast. In the New York Times, doctors raved about Cayce.
His psychologic terms would do credit to any professor of nervous anatomy, while in his normal state he is an illiterate man, especially along the lines of medicine, surgery, or pharmacy, of which he knows nothing.
Cayce's predictions were amazing in their detail.
That is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible that he had knowledge, not only that he could sleep on a book and absorb all the information, but that he had medical knowledge that he didn't have when he was in his awake state. It's incredible. Absolutely.
But his process was simple enough.
It wasn't anything mysterious. He would simply lie down on a couch. He would, if he had a tie or collar on, he'd loosen his collar, loosen his shoelaces, and just cross his hands over his stomach and just relax.
There was a window, maybe 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds, when his eyes began to flutter. And it was at that moment that you could put a question to Edgar Cayce.
All he had to know was the name of the person the reading was for and where he was at the time of the reading. Could be in California or Kalamazoo, it didn't matter.
Oddly, whether he gave a diagnosis, prescribed a cure, or predicted the future, Cayce forgot it all as soon as his eyes opened.
He didn't remember anything. He didn't remember anything that he said at the reading.
And soon, some clients caught on.
People would slip in a question about who's going to win a horse race or what's going to happen in the stock market. And he would answer them, much to their profit.
As clients got rich on his predictions, Cayce suffered from unexplainable migraine headaches.
Where there were selfish purposes involved, it was as if the radar screen got fuzzy. He couldn't tune in as clearly or as accurately.
It made him ill or made him upset stomach. He just said, I'm through. I'm not doing this anymore.
In 1912, with his young wife Gertrude and his son Hugh Lynn in tow, a disillusioned Cayce left Hopkinsville and the predictions behind him and moved to Selma, Alabama, where he went back to work as a photographer.
And that, my friends, is point number 2. Did you catch it? When people were asking him questions that profited them, like what numbers hit the lottery, what horse was going to win, who was going to win the sports, whatever. That's when he would get migraines. He would get violently ill, nauseous to his stomach. And when he found out, because he could not remember that when he was out, that these people were asking him questions to profit themselves, the ability made him sick. Now, what does that tell you? Both of these guys were healers to begin with and were into compassion and helping other people. When people tried to profit from it and use it wrongly, it made him ill and he moved away and he went back to it, but he hasn't. You'll see here how he dealt with that. But that tells you how many people with abilities, we say it all the time, we can't do it for ourselves. We can't do it for, to profit somebody. And we certainly can't do it for our own families. It's too emotionally entangled. And there's something going on that tells you that there is a higher source here that is regulating it. I don't know how else to put it, because that's amazing to me. There you go. Negative intentions. That's right, Amy. So I had to stop it. That's my 2.
He continued that work until my brother dropped a match in a partially filled can of flashlight powder and he burned his face terribly. And all the doctors said, well, he'll never see again. And my brother asked my father for a reading.
2 weeks later, after following his father's recommendations, Hugh Lynn's eye was as good as new.
Dad realized that he could help people again and that he thought that maybe that's what he ought to do. But he made it a rule that Mother would be the one who asked the questions, so nothing could happen like happened in Hopkinsville.
But Cayce was about to discover new, amazing abilities. His spine-chilling visions were about to turn him into the greatest prophet of the 20th century.
okay. That's part 1, and we lost Steve. He's back now.
I'm back.
It's okay. Now, did that tell you the thing? Is that what you wanted to talk about? He got
I think
laryngitis.
so. I didn't know there was the very first time he was having a hard time studying his lessons, and his dad was being kind of mean to him. I think he maybe even smacked him on the head or something. And his dad left the room, and he heard a voice said that if we can help you, but you need to go to sleep.
Oh,
So
wow.
he fell asleep with his school books there and walked back. His dad came back in, caught him sleeping, really raised hell at him that time. But he found out that when he had awakened, he knew not only the lesson he was studying, but everything in the book.
Wow.
As a child. So,
wow. Well, you know, they probably wouldn't put that story in because it sounds so, we get it and we accept it, you know. But
yeah.
Hey, sweetie Bobby, how you doing, honey? I did want to stop it for a second, and there's something going on with the Buffalo Bills football game. Apparently, a 24-year-old had a heart attack on the field while on live TV. The medics were doing CPR on him. Well, we send prayers out to that player. Oh my God, so much of that's happening. I can't imagine. It's
back in my
awful.
bed, people died not suddenly.
Yeah, and I'd be right there with you, Ted, in the YouTube mansion. That's right. You know, maybe we should just all go to Steve's. Steve's got a YouTube mansion he's building over there. But yeah, that's amazing. I'm so sorry for that player. If anybody can get his name so we can send out a prayer for him. It doesn't sound good. But
for once, it wasn't anybody we were talking about. So
yeah,
can't
well,
pin that one on us, but we can send love and light to it.
I beg to differ, Steve. I said something about the Buffalo Bills when we first started.
Did you? Uh-oh. Cisco.
I wasn't thinking. I was mentioning something about somebody had it, as their and I did mention them.
Yoko Ono Nickelback. That's all I got to say to that.
I hate to say it, but I did. But Steve, we're back.
I didn't.
Oh, geez.
Sorry. Sorry, Bills fans. He's going to be all right, though, we hope.
Haven't got his name yet. Just a kid. Just a kid. Yeah, absolutely. 24 years old. Come on, man. You can, heartbeat. Come on, fight. Oh, geez. Well, if anybody can get a name, please, even if it's just a first name, so I can focus the energy. Yeah, just something. All right. So there's that. That's the first part. I have a second part. It's about 10 minutes. But again, I found it extremely interesting. Now, Steve, what do you think about that? First, you and I have talked an awful lot about Hopi prophecies, the white buffalo. There's Navajo, there's Cherokee, there's every.
I wonder about all that. And I've even heard people say in all honesty and all kidding aside that they believe that the world did end in 2012 when the Mayan calendar ended and we split off into another reality.
Yes. And that's the thing. The thing is every time you start saying the end of the world, the end of this, the end of that, a lot of times these things just mean the end of something.
Or, the other way of looking at that's a big rock, and maybe they just ran out of room. I mean, it's a calendar, ran out of rock to carve it on. Well, 2012 is as far as we got. Continued, please see next rock. But they gave up, or so I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking for that because I was talking about the, what do you call the icon? I guess we have an icon next to your name, the picture, and it was a Buffalo Bills. And I said that they were, those poor Buffalo Bills are probably freezing out there tonight because of all that snow and horrible weather that they've had. And I don't know, Steve, every time, Meatloaf got me. Yeah. It's absolutely frightening. But if we've got at least a little bit, then we can turn it to the light and we can send him out all the love and energy we can for him and his family and teammates and everybody watching. And, but man, that gets me. Hello, Lynn. Welcome in, Darnell. Welcome in. Anybody that we missed here. Yeah. And Lynn, we're definitely going to work on that. I wanted to mention it today, but I don't want to bother you too much. Welcome, Piani. DeMar. Oh, okay. Hamlin is the player. So let's
My
just give a
mic
moment.
muted.
If you don't mind, if we could send him some healing energy. I mean, it might just be enough to push it, to the light. Okay. So, Damar Hamlin. Rise up, warrior. Rise up.
There you go.
I don't know, Lynn. I don't know. That was my first thought. Yeah.
Hey,
Wow.
Anella, good to see you here. She
Hey,
messaged
welcome.
me something, and I told her I was on with you and sent her a link, and here she is. So
Here she is. I'm so glad to have her. All our new people, welcome in.
she's been coming to
Everybody
my
here
shows on
is
13.
lovely gatekeepers. We have terrific mods. We have, yeah, I know, Glenn, right? Me and my mouth. But I don't even know any of the players on that team. Prayers up, Damar. Come on, baby. Get up, get up, get up. Fight. So, and that goes for anybody that's out there. We have so many people hurting right now. Monica's got some stuff going on, and Edna, we've got sick fur babies that need love. So everybody that needs healing, light, and energy, please accept it from us. We have good intent, and in the most humble way possible. We're just trying to use our light for healing, and that's what light is here to do. So there we go. All right. So the second part here goes in a little more of Edgar Cayce. And oh, yeah. Oh, wonderful to have you. Oh, I was saying that everybody in here is a gatekeeper. We have terrific mods. If you have questions, what we try to do here is just help you enjoy the journey that you're on. Your journey is yours. Your choices are yours. We're just trying to talk about the wonderful miracles that go on around us every day. And, it seems like the outside world wants to tell us about all the gloom and doom and horror. And I'm like, I see love all around me. I see light. I see miracles. I see things that, that make me smile every day. Oh my goodness, where are you going? Somebody's in the kitchen. You just ate. They're getting so big. That was Spirit. And Boo's still asleep, but he'll be
yeah,
up in a minute.
I'm seeing his name here. Damar Hamlin collapsed on field. Game is suspended. So that's the latest news that I'm seeing. That was 6 minutes ago.
Well, at least they had the common decency to suspend the game, for Pete's sake. I
mean, and there's probably people in the stands. Hey, boo, boo! Why are you stopping?
And not even realizing what's going on. I mean, that's what
exactly.
happens at concerts and things like that. People that and it's just awful. Well, thank you guys. Y'all are the treasure to me, because I'll tell you, I look forward to coming here. And boy, that's some name, Damar Romeo Hamlin. Bless his
Well, he was
heart.
given CPR after collapsing on the field.
Golly. And this is an athlete. These are the healthiest doctors poking at him and prodding them all, through all day long, and supposed to be in the peak of health. And they're, we've got football players in other countries, soccer, if you want to call it that, back and forth.
Right.
I don't know anything about sports
Literally,
ball.
some of
I
his
used to like
teammates
football.
were crying and praying on camera. So that's
Good.
that's
Pray.
good.
That's what you need. You want to hit a knee in sports. That should be what you're doing it for.
Knee right there.
That's what you need to be doing it for. Amen. All right. So there's that. Now, the other thing, again, like I wanted to bring up, was the fact of, how you look at things, your vantage point, because we could look at things, a little bit different with some hard-earned wisdom throughout our lives, and look at it and go, the ending of one thing is the beginning of another. It's like, remember how they had us all tied up in knots about what was that stupid thing called when it changed to 2000, all the computers and everything was going to go out?
Y2K.
And they had everybody in this big thing, and what happened? Nothing.
Big nothing burger. But I've also heard people say it was because they took it seriously, and because they did go in and take care
to
do what to do. Because there were some places where I heard about a couple of things where it didn't roll over. It went to 1900. And that's what they were afraid of, that your bank account would either be wiped out, or you'd have 1,000 years worth of, or 100 years worth of interest in there, because it could have gone either way. They claimed that, the gas pumps and the cash registers and everything like that would stop. But I took part. I was working for a big insurance company at the time, PHP. I think that's Physicians Health Partnership, whatever PHP insurance stands for. And yeah, we worked round the clock, and we were all hands on deck.
Mhm.
We were in the building that night, New Year's Eve, and watched it roll over, and then went and checked all our systems and stuff. So either way, it
Yeah.
turned out to be a big nothing burger, but I knew people that had alternative income,
Mhm.
like gold and silver coins and bars, and people that stocked up, did the whole prepper thing, had food generators. And, it's good to be prepared.
And what they wound up with,
food.
they wound up with some extra food, some gold, some silver, and maybe chili.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's my point. You made a good point that, you do what you can, you prepare as you can for how it affects you, because everybody's situation is different. And you look at the situation and go, have I done everything I possibly can to make my situation better for whatever might be coming or whatever is here or whatever? And then you're done. Then you start remembering this. This is what always kept me in check once I started paying attention, after my wild 20s and all. It was basically, that, like the serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change. Well, I don't know about accepting them, but you have to accept the things that, okay, it's there, I can't change it. It doesn't mean you have to accept it into your life. It just means whatever that means for you. And then
it is what it is.
Change
Right,
the things I can. Change the things I can. And it is what it is. It's like you can't stop all this stuff, but you can take care of your square foot of real estate and the people that you love. And, a lot of times we can't even do anything about the people that we love. They're going to do what they're going to do. And that's their right. That's their free will, just like ghosts. Not every ghost has to cross, It's like, I can't tell you how many times I've sat there and it's like, you do realize this bar might be a parking lot in, in 100 years. And how long do you think it's going to take somebody to come back around again to try to help you? So please remember, just look up and connect to your light and you can go, and Lynn and I laugh about this when we talk about it, but somebody said something here and I thought that was really, really cool. Should have grabbed it over. It's P. Annie. Welcome in. After watching you last night, you reminded me to focus on the good and not be bogged down by the rubbish. That's 100% correct. I'm focusing on displaying and sharing the inner light. Thank you. Absolutely. That's it. Because that's the thing. It's what you choose to focus on. It's like, bad times came and I might not have got the paycheck in time to cover the electric bill in time, but I knew I would get it, like it closed or something. I'd get it by. So tonight we're going to be without electric. So I had candles. We had, food to eat. Everything was fine. We did what I could do. And then we did shadow puppet theater on the wall and the kids were laughing. And, it's, if you ever had that where you were having so much fun and then the lights came back on and the kids go, oh no, turn the lights back off. We were having so much fun.
Yeah. Remember when I was a kid, the power went out, the kerosene oil lamps came out. And that's what I did. I entertained my parents with the shadow puppets on the wall, and the whole bird. And everything.
Oh yeah, I did. I had little voices. Me, I had all voices with like, give me Hilly. I had all kind of stuff. We had all kind of different characters.
And yeah, when the lights came back, I was like, I want to do that some more.
Lard candles.
But I imagine it would get old after a while.
Oh yeah.
But you think back, the house my dad grew up in didn't have electricity. He didn't have electricity until he's 6 years old, and they moved to the bigger place across the creek. And the electricity they had there was a series of glass batteries that looked like aquariums.
Oh gosh, I remember that.
That powered a couple of tiny little light bulbs and a radio. The radio was all they had. And they'd gather around it and sit and stare at it. I don't know because it had light on the dial or if just didn't know better.
Who was that pig? Hold on, Petticoat Junction. Arnold the pig.
Arnold Ziffel
would watch. He would watch the wash machine. It was a circular wash machine. He thought it was a TV. That's funny. I just
they had that on the Beverly Hillbillies too. Granny thought it was a TV, and it was a washing machine, and they thought it was a program about the ocean.
That's funny. That's funny. Oh gosh, yeah. So that's the thing. It's all your vantage point and how you look at stuff. It's like, again, you go to different grocery stores. My son went to the grocery store today, and he was videotaping through the meat and going through this. I'm like, nope, pass, nope, they're out of that, nope. Okay, we'll get this, and this. That's good. We'll do that, and just
and
add
like you
it
said,
to the
worst case scenario. You've got a bunch of food and water stored up, or water purification tablets. You've got extra.
You can build
You've
your own
got-
water filter.
You can give some to somebody in need. You know, if you know of a poor family or somebody that lost
Yes.
everything, then
Yes.
you've got a supply.
And that might be while you're doing it. That's another thing. When you put this stuff out in the universe, have you ever done that? You ever saved up a little bit of money and you thought you were saving for one thing and then an emergency happened and it was exactly the amount you had saved up?
Oh, yeah.
And don't ever look at it like, oh gosh, I was saving for this. No, honey, you were saving for this right here. You just didn't know it. And that's how this works. Do you see what I'm saying? And, you know, especially if you're struggling and you don't have so much to spread everywhere, because if you had so much to spread everywhere, you didn't have a care in the world, you're not going to see it until that becomes an issue.
Yeah,
But we see it all the time. Yeah, Green Acres.
Those shows are intertwined, though. The Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, Petticoat Junction, they all
Yeah, I think Petticoat
ran each
Junction
other's
was
show.
they were often visited back and forth, I think. I can't remember. Seemed like it. But that was funny. So my second point, again, was what we talked about where I stopped it. And I said that once people started taking advantage of him and trying to do it for their profit, he was so insulted by that. Again, he didn't know while he was asleep, right? So it took him a while to find this out, what people were doing. You know, that's just, you know, here's this guy going through. Now, let me tell you something. What Aunt Edna said was right. Suck the life right out of him. When you have these abilities and you do these things to help cross ghosts, when you're a medium, when you're a psychic, you know, these abilities almost take a little bit of you with it every time you do it. It's, you know, when you talk to people that do this for, you know, all the time, they get sick when they go into these houses to try to, you know, get these ghosts out or whatever it is that they're battling in there. And, you know, it's the living that draws off them too, because they, you know, they're so desperate, they become like energy vampires. So there's a lot that people go through, and to think that people would be so self-absorbed that they would go in there. You know, this guy who's helped, you know, cure sick children and, you know, brought sight back to this young boy's eyes and, you know, countless numbers of things. To go in there and do that kind of advantage, that's kind of a very evil thing. And it would just give him migraines. It was almost like his ability was giving him physical signs that something was wrong. And it took him a little bit to figure it out. But once he did, he packed up and he moved and he set up a whole new thing. And the way he did it afterwards was really, I thought was quite cool. But that told me it further reinforced what I already thought about having these abilities and not being able to use it for yourself. The first thing people ever joke about and ask, and that's all I need to know about a person when they say something like that to me, is like, what's the lottery number? I know what you're all about. And if I did get a message for you, I would be hesitant to give it to you at this point, other than your mama wants to smack you across the face for saying what you just said. But you can kind of tell where people are at, you know, because again, everybody makes fun of the old goat woman on the hill until you break your leg. You drag that broken leg up that hill, and then you're ready to listen to everything she's got to say. And that makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Right, Steve?
Yep.
Because then you're ready to listen. You know, and that's the whole point. They weren't exiled. They were sent off to have peace and to do their thing. And if they were caring for the sick, that the sick would be able to come and have quiet. You know, they always said that they were exiled out, but most of the time they chose to be outside, just outside of the ring, you know, if that makes sense. All right. You ready for another one, buddy? We're almost done.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
All right. Now I got to find it down here in all these colorful squares. They should think of a better way. StreamYard, if you're listening, it'd be great if I could name these so I'd know what I was pulling up here, but let's see if I hit the right one. Yes.
It's the 1920s. Europe is still reeling from the First World War. But across the Atlantic, America is enjoying its ascendance to global superpower. It's a time of frivolity and fun, and a time of rapid change.
Big corporations were forming, technology was on the rise, and we were changing from an earlier, simpler people to a much more complicated society. Edgar Cayce represents, as do great actors or poets, an individual who speaks
out of the collective need of his time and place and culture.
Clients came to Cayce to inquire about everything under the sun. Oil prospectors came asking about the location of oil wells.
Some of the most remarkable readings before 1923 are oil readings, geophysical readings. Edgar Cayce gives almost a foot-by-foot breakdown of the geophysical conditions for a particular site, and invariably he was right. He was dead on.
Great minds also met with the sleeping prophet.
Thomas Edison received readings on the nature of electricity. Woodrow Wilson, President of the United States, who was suffering from a heart condition. We know that George Gershwin received readings. We know that Nelson Rockefeller received readings.
Edgar Cayce was extraordinarily eclectic in his psychic work, but his predictions on world affairs with dates and vivid descriptions of events to come are a testament to his prophetic powers.
Some of the world affairs readings are absolutely scary.
It was like he was reading the headlines 4 years in advance, consistently.
He's under trance in 1925, asked by a client how the future of business will be, and he says, better pull your stocks out.
In the adverse forces that will come then in 1929, care should be taken, lest this be taken from the entity.
Cayce foresaw the onset of the Depression 4 years before it happened, and in 1931 he accurately predicted an end to the hard times that continued to plague the country.
In the spring of '33 will be the real definite improvements.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Now, of course, that's the New Deal, when we did slowly start to get out of the Depression.
Cayce also foresaw the next World War, long before anyone could have predicted it.
In 1935, Edgar Cayce was giving a reading to a 29-year-old freight agent, and the individual wanted to know about affairs of an international nature. Cayce predicted that there would be an alliance between the Austrians, the Germans, and the Japanese. He says in the reading, and unless there is interference from the divine, the whole world will be set on fire. In 1935, no one had any idea that any of this was about to happen.
With the League of Nations still in force, another war seemed implausible, and yet...
Edgar Cayce seems to have had a psychic sensitivity to the coming of World War II. There were certainly things in the news that were the clouds of this coming war, but he targeted the time in which it might begin to occur and even its end, and many of the dynamics that went on during those war years.
Cayce also foresaw social upheavals that would emerge long after his death in 1945.
Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice.
Edgar Cayce's accuracy with predictions is also suggested by his statements about how mob rule could potentially happen in the United States, particularly if there weren't some social changes.
Ye ought to have a division in thy own land, before ye have the second of the presidents that next will not live through his office. A mob rule.
In April 1945, Roosevelt died in office. Kennedy's assassination would follow in November 1963, as the civil rights movement raged on.
That one instance points to how important it is to see that Edgar Cayce was also a commentator on social affairs. He said that unless there would be a kind of leveling that would come in society, that there couldn't be one rule for those who were rich and privileged and a different rule for those that were the have-nots, that we were in for tremendous, difficult changes in our culture.
With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together.
Cayce was not a Republican or a Democrat. He wasn't trying to advocate any particular political agenda, but he clearly had a moral sense about something that needed to be achieved if we were to fulfill our destiny as a nation.
Whether they dealt with civil strife, war, or medicine, Cayce's visions would be lost to us today if it wasn't for Gladys Davis, a young stenographer Cayce hired from 1923 on to record every word he uttered while in trance.
She was much more than a stenographer. She really completed the work. And it's because of Gladys Davis that we have the readings today.
I felt an instant attraction to this man. I just trusted him. One day during a reading, he said a string of words, so I was wondering whether I should put a dash or a comma or just how to word this. And over there asleep on the couch, I mean, his eyes closed, he said, put a comma between these.
After she took the reading, she then typed it up into a copy that she would send to the person who had the reading. In the interest of confidentiality, all the names of the people having readings were removed and numbers were inserted.
It made no difference to Cayce if his clients were paupers or powerful. He never charged for a reading, relying on donations instead, a decision that weighed heavily on the Cayce family.
We struggled financially, yes, all the time. Our mother was frequently wondering what she was going to buy for groceries next week, because if he got 2 or 3 readings in a row and he had a little money, he'd buy a load of topsoil for the garden, or he'd buy a new fruit tree. I think my father gave these readings because he felt it helped people, and that's what he wanted to do.
Cayce's greatest ambition was to open a hospital where his patients could receive treatments he prescribed in his medical readings. In 1925, he moved to Virginia Beach, where 3 years later, the hospital opened. It closed in 1931 in the midst of the Depression.
After the hospital had folded and, he'd lost everything, I heard him say that was probably the saddest time of his life.
But in good times and in bad, Cayce never lost his prophetic touch. In fact, another set of readings had emerged in the 1920s, prophecies so astounding that they still echo today and may yet turn history on its head. For 43 years of his life, Edgar Cayce would lie down on a couch, place his hands on his solar plexus, and fall into a self-induced trance. In this state, he traveled through space and time, foretelling wars, diagnosing illnesses, and in some of his most intriguing readings, rewriting history.
When we consider Edgar Cayce's predictions, it's also interesting to look at some of the retrocognitive statements he made, looking back into history and making statements about things you wouldn't find in the history book.
The sleeping Cayce seemed to know secrets about our past that only the most high-tech instruments and years of excavating could reveal. Long before the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in 1947, Cayce spoke of an ancient sect of Judaism, the Essenes, which experts believed was made up exclusively of men.
Edgar Cayce spoke about the Essenes as a community that included men, women, and children.
Experts remained dubious, but in the 1950s, years after Cayce's death, archaeologists uncovered skeletons of Essene women near the site of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
With geology, there are some interesting things as well. Cayce suggested that at one time the Nile River flowed in the opposite direction and actually emptied directly into the Atlantic Ocean.
Amazingly, in the 1980s, satellite images from the space shuttle revealed unknown river valleys beneath the driest parts of the Sahara. More imaging and on-site exploration revealed that the Nile may indeed have once flowed through the Sahara and into the Atlantic.
In Edgar Cayce's lifetime, much of what he said about lost civilizations, ancient worlds, was regarded as science fiction. It really wasn't until this century, and literally the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, that people have begun to look much harder and realistically at these readings as perhaps, well, maybe these aren't so far-fetched.
Probably the most astounding historical readings Cayce gave had to do with the lost land of Atlantis.
Atlantis, from Edgar Cayce's perspective, was the first great Eden on the earth. It predates the Eden that we know of between the Tigris and the Euphrates, the Eden of Adam and Eve. Edgar Cayce saw Atlantis as a massive continent in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. At the time, The individuals that populated the area had a deep understanding of the forces of the universe and could actually harness some of these powers to use devices such as flying machines and crystals and so forth.
But according to the readings, the Atlanteans abused their power over nature, and Atlantis disappeared in a cataclysmic disaster some 10,000 years ago. Cayce's most specifically timed prophecies said portions of Atlantis would rise again in 1968. It did not. But that year, a strange formation known as the Bimini Road was discovered in the Bahamas.
Most geologists think it's beach rock. Beach rock is rock that fractures parallel to the shore. Well, this is parallel to the shore, but the end of it curves around in a kind of a J shape, so that's unusual.
No one has gathered any conclusive evidence yet that proves Atlantis lies beneath the Bahamas. But according to Cayce, Bimini isn't our only link to the lost continent. Before the final destruction, he said, Atlanteans hid records of their earliest history in other locations.
One was in the Yucatan Peninsula. The other was off the right front paw of the Sphinx in Egypt.
In the early 1990s, Dr. Robert Schoch, a professor of geology at Boston University, conducted geological and seismic surveys on the Sphinx.
I was not in the business to support Edgar Cayce or any other, I'll call him psychic or prophet. I really knew nothing about him other than his name.
Schoch and his team were about to make an astounding discovery.
We were able to model what was underneath the Great Sphinx. We found under and in front of the left paw of the Sphinx what I believe is a major chamber, maybe up to 25 meters below the surface. Based on its regularity, it looks like it was human carved, and not only is it definitely there, but it seems to have something in it. The way it resonated, the way it ringed, seems to indicate there's something in the chamber.
Is it the Atlanteans' Hall of Records Cayce spoke of? No one has explored it further, and as intriguing as they are, so far Cayce's Atlantis prophecies have come up short. But some suggest that it's Cayce's method and not his material that will have the most far-reaching effect on our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. In fact, Cayce suggested that with practice, we could all do what he did.
I do not believe there is a single individual that does not possess this same ability I have. If they would only be willing to pay the price of detachment from self-interest that it takes to develop those abilities.
Cayce was even able to describe where he got the information that came to him in trance. He said it came from the subconscious mind of the individual he was reading for, and from the Akashic Records, a universal source of knowledge that held all of the pasts, presents, and unfolding futures of mankind.
Edgar Cayce said, ultimately, when you view it from the highest dimension, there is no time and no space. There is no future and no past. It all is occurring in one fascinating moment of expression, but time is an illusion that has purpose.
Cayce's readings also suggested that we could impact the future. This idea was shared by another great prophet, Nostradamus.
Edgar Cayce and Nostradamus both shared the belief that the future was malleable, changeable. It's also true that if you're a prophet, you're also a propagandist. You're trying to persuade, often, the future to change.
What?
I absolutely love that. Sorry it cut off like that, but they jumped to a commercial and that's where I had to cut it. So basically he's saying, Cayce himself is saying that everybody has these abilities and that you can exercise them and connect into them. And how he pulled the information was from the Akashic Records, and the person he was reading is subconscious, and then the higher self in the Akashic Records, where all the lives are written, all the past lives, future lives, and everything else, which absolutely, again, gives us another solidification of what we're feeling is like on the other side, and that everything is all connected. Steve, what do you want to say?
I agree.
Incredible.
I mean, I tried it when I was a kid. I thought I'll do that. I got some of my school books and slept with them under my pillow, but it didn't
Mhm.
work for me.
Mhm.
But again, there's that intent. That was cheating. Same
Mhm.
as asking for lottery numbers or whatever. There's
Mhm.
some things that you have to learn by yourself or on your own.
Mhm.
You can't always take the easy way out, but that was for personal benefit or gain.
Mhm.
So I've
Mhm.
had flashes and things before. A lot of them come in sleep, but
Mhm.
I think that a lot of his stuff. And again, those things were what he saw. But you and I know that sometimes, and I've had these visions that it didn't turn out that way. There
Mhm.
are things that can change. My grandma talked about that. There's
Mhm.
some things you can change, some things you can't, and some things that'll change on their own. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe something else happened, prayers, miracles, whatever,
Mhm.
but that outcome, for whatever reason, didn't come true.
Mhm.
So there's,
Mhm.
I mean, that's kind of beating the devil around the bush there, but you can explain some of the ones that missed the mark.
Mhm.
But I don't know of anybody that's ever been 100%.
Mhm. And I do. I think that he was one of those prophets that really did come from the right place. And I think it goes back to what you said too, Steve, about, how he came about it. But again, I think it goes back even further about the people that surrounded him. Very similar to you. You had your granny and your mom, and and your dad was very supportive of these things, and you got to talk about the things like with the Ouija board at Christmas and all that different stuff. It wasn't something that everybody was scared of and like, no, and tried to squash it, where everybody tried to protect him. And I think he had a great upbringing with that. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
I
first
did.
seeing his
Especially
grandpa.
my mom's side of the family, they came out of the spiritualism movement.
Right.
And when my mom and dad first got married back in the 40s, he went to my grandma's house with my mom sometimes when they'd have those seances, table tipping, table tapping, and stuff. And even though he was a scientist at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, he would quickly tell you there's things out there that we don't understand. That just
Mhm.
because science doesn't
Mhm.
recognize it or you can't measure it
Mhm.
or what have you, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And he had seen things that he couldn't explain either.
Right.
Even
Right.
but you apply that scientific method, and sometimes that doesn't give you an answer. And there you go.
Right.
There's a magazine I used to read. I don't know if it's still around or not, but it was called The Journey of Irreproducible Results, and it was a
Mhm.
science publication. But it would talk about when they had anomalous stuff happen in a laboratory setting or things like that, when stuff that just we did it, but we can't do it again. We don't know
Can't
how
do
we
it
did
again.
it. Yeah, so there you
Right.
go.
That's interesting.
And the best way I've ever heard it explained was the way my brother explained it. That the world that we live in, everything around us, this was all spoken forth out of the supernatural. So
Mhm.
what we consider the natural is a part of the supernatural. So that way,
Mhm.
there's not going to be an
Mhm.
explanation
I think
sometimes.
it's just been given a dirty word when people say the supernatural. It's what they don't understand, and they,
Yeah.
yet they trust, like some science, and then some things in science have been proven like we were wrong all along. This is
Yeah,
really
they've
so.
missed a
You
boat
got to
on that
think
too.
some things are just bigger than science.
Yeah.
This is all connected, and we're not just talking about this globe. I mean, like all the dimensions, all of the different universe, everything. To think
Look
that
at
we're the only
string theory
things
that
is
every
so
living
arrogant.
thing, not
Yeah.
only on this planet, but in the universe is connected somehow. I believe in that.
Yeah,
And,
Lynn brings up a good point too. Perhaps these visions didn't come true in this lifetime, but perhaps could be occurring in a
good
paralleling
point.
lifetime.
Excellent
Absolutely a
point, man.
great point. That's an excellent point. And, something that they said about Atlantis that I love the way they put that. Now, I am no by any means, if we talk about Atlantis, I'm going to learn right along with you because it's just not something I understand a lot about, but I'm willing to research it because I'd love to talk about it. Steve, I don't know if that's
Yeah,
something
I'd
you
like
know
to
a
get
little
into
about.
that too. And
Yeah.
also the Lemurians, which are similar to the Atlanteans.
Yeah.
They supposedly escaped when the same thing happened to them, and they live in, on, or under Mount Shasta in California now. If you're
Wow.
sure here, we've been doing videos about Mount Shasta.
Neat. So maybe we can connect it in because
Yeah.
I've got a wonderful Leonard Nimoy where he's talking about the Bimini Wall, and they In Search Of always does such a great job. So I can pull that up and I'll do some research. We'll see if we can get, if anybody knows about Atlantis and wants to come in and talk, Glenn or Ted or anybody here that, that's your thing. maybe we could do something like that. But I would love to touch on that, because Edgar Cayce's got me interested in, because the way they said that, basically they were living against nature. They weren't living with, the thing is you live with nature. That's the native way. And any tribal indigenous culture is going to tell you the same thing. If you go against nature, it's going to go against you. Look at how everything lives. I've always been very interested in, the Japanese culture, the Chinese culture, as far as they use so much in animals, in their martial arts, and different things, and their paintings is just absolutely beautiful.
And
Some of the stuff
zodiac,
they do,
the year of the
yeah,
monkey, the year
the
of the
whole
rat.
thing. And
Does
this is the
anybody
year
know
of
what
the rabbit.
rabbit? Okay,
I think this is the year of the rabbit.
good
So,
deal.
and
That's
I
usually a
wouldn't even
prosperous
pretend to know what it
animal to
means.
have.
I guess there's gonna be a lot more rabbits by the end of next year. I guess I don't
No,
know. That's
I
all I
see
know
that
about
as
rabbits.
prospering, and
Their poop makes good fertilizer. We could use some of
fruition,
that.
and they propagate very swiftly. So I think this is going to be a year of plenty. It is going to be for me. I've already decided.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you on that. How do you say that name? Ananelia? I hate saying people's names wrong, but I'm terrible with this.
I've butchered
Ananelia?
it so many times, and she showed me how to pronounce it phonetically. I think it's, if you take out one of the N's and the I think it's Anella. Anella,
Anella.
I
Oh, that's
think.
beautiful.
But
Anella?
the cool thing about that, her
Yeah,
name
I agree.
translates to angel. Oh, and I forgot it. Angel of God's peace.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that a beautiful name?
It is. My goodness. YouTube
Anella.
blocked your
Okay, I
comment,
was
Linda.
close. And Anella.
Really?
Anella.
I'm
And I
not
told her
even
I'd get it
seeing it on
right.
here.
You have blown it again. Yeah, I didn't see any blocked comments on this end.
Me either, sweetheart. I don't even know how they do that, but they'll get you, for comments sometimes. I mean, I've gotten like a yellow or something, and it was something somebody said in a comment. But you know what? You can only try to do what you're going to do. People here are going to say what they're going to say. Everybody's good here. They know to, to try to, use I don't know, slang or whatever. We know that it takes down the show in some ways. But what did you say, sweetie? I missed it. Undertaker Days. Oh yeah. Yeah, please, Ted. Email me. We'll set up a time. Lynn's gonna try to set up having some guests. I want her to bring some of her guests on. We were talking about maybe can't do it on a Sunday night, maybe adding an extra night. I don't want to step on anything Steve's doing. So once we get those,
we'll work it out.
We'll work it
I
out.
feel
But we
bad
try
when
to
I
be.
do that to you. I think it was New Year's Eve or something. I didn't know
Yeah.
you were doing something, and I went.
It
and did
happens.
something.
It happens. And I know with you, most of the time it's the times, because the times get messed up. It takes us a while, and I'm just as bad. So, we just realize that it's,
I
people are going
lived
to go
in
where they're going
the
to
West
go.
Coast for over
Yep.
10, 12 years, but I moved one time zone east, and I can't tell you if it's daylight or dark. Barely. Don't know what day it is, and then the holidays and everything. It's just
yeah, it
I'm
gets
always
hard.
confused. This is what
We're
it's
lucky we
Monday.
can
I'm here.
finagle these
I'm
fancy
here. It's
levers and
Monday. That's how I
gadgets.
know it's Monday. I'm on your show.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, honey. Same bat time, same bat channel, right, sweetheart? I was gonna say about the prediction of the Atlantis papers, or whatever it was, like scrolls, whatever you want to say, that was
Messing
in the
scrolls.
Sphinx, in the Paul. Think about it. Why wouldn't they want you to have that information? Why won't they let people go in there and dig and see if it's there? Think about that. There's a lot of things that they keep from us. You should see the basement of the Smithsonian Institute. Just saying.
I've heard that they hide a lot of stuff there that they don't want people to know. That one of the things
There's a
that covered
narrative.
recently, there was a cave found in the Grand Canyon that had Egyptian artifacts in it, but it was covered up, hushed up. The government took over, won't let anybody go in or near it, and supposedly the Smithsonian recovered the artifacts and hid them away.
Are you saying the green tablets of Thoth, Sapphire Elf? I know Uncommon Belief knows a little bit about that. I think that's what you're saying. Or somebody's a tart and we're having a fight or something. I'm not sure what's going on there. It's nonsense, though. It's just funny to say. I don't know that much about it. I think that everything, just about everything, if you look at things that are really serious topics about all this, I think a lot of different things have pieces of the truth, and then they add their stuff in, and I think that's what we're trying to do, is take out all the nonsense. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me that if Atlantis was working against nature and whatever was happening there, I don't pretend to understand, but the way they said it, I can see that it would just be wiped out, because eventually something's going to get you. If you use up all of your resources and you don't replenish. I mean, that was one of the first things we were told when I was a child. When you're going to pick herbs, harvest herbs, you pick 1/3. You have to leave 1/3 to nature and the elements and 1/3 to the replenishment, and you don't wipe something out. Whereas when, just for an example, look, when people started buying one of those beaver skin hats, boy, what did they do? They wiped out the beaver. When people wanted those buffalo rugs and those, things overseas, because it was all new, they just wiped out the buffalo and left the meat there to just waste, and that's what happens. Our mindset. I think what needs to happen is, a lot of people, their moral compass, the glass just broke on that bitch. There's no helping it. And some people,
way to put it.
and some people need to just polish theirs up a little. And then some of us have theirs and we're just going, it doesn't feel right. And it might be harder to do it this way, but I'm going to do it the way that it feels right for me, because I have to sleep with me.
Yeah,
I have to live with me.
Something's under the Denver airport, allegedly. I made a video about that over on 13 Past Midnight. Go watch that about the stuff that people know about that's there, and there's a lot of stuff that's alleged, but I wouldn't doubt it. If you've ever been in that airport, it's a weird place.
Oh, it's so. Did you know that the horse?
Of it,
let's see if I can find a picture of the horse, Steve. Go ahead and tell.
Yeah, the guy that was making that, a part of it fell on him, and I think it severed his leg. Anyway, he died, and his son finished that. So there's already a blood sacrifice. Now, people say, oh, that's the Denver Broncos, but there's a lot more to that story.
Yep.
And if you look at where they placed the airport, it makes no sense. And supposedly there's tunnels underneath it that go, I believe it's to the Department of Defense somewhere, some underground compound miles away. And also one of the buildings that was built there, instead of destroying it, they built over it. And it's a lot of Masonic stuff there. Just go watch that video over on 13 Past Midnight. It'll open your eyes.
There's the horse. Can you guys see that?
I think it's on 13 Past Midnight. It was over there. It may be over on the other channel now, but I can tell you.
Can you guys see that? 5-5?
Yep.
Okay. But that's the horse, and and his name is Lucifer, and it fell on
Lucifer.
And it fell, and look at his eyes.
The red eyes. And I was thinking about that the other day. I did Weird World, that audiobook that I released that Barton Nunley wrote for me. Yes. Just about every cryptid report in there, and some non-cryptids and humanoids and stuff, got those red eyes. Spring Heels Jack, the Beast of LBL. There's been Bigfoot sightings and things that had red eyes. Dogman, shapeshifters. Red eyes, if you see red eyes, that's a hint and a half for your ass to go the other way.
Okay, let me see if I can share this. You seeing that? Oh, 1 second. Let me get it up here again. For those of you that haven't seen this, I'm going to share just a couple of these pictures. Can y'all see that?
Yeah, that's just, and I've been to that airport.
These are the murals.
They're not stuff you want to see before you're getting on a plane. And it is on 13 Past Midnight. It's called Dark Travels, Strange Places, the Denver International Airport. I was picking out places like that and making videos about them. Got one about Bohemian Grove. Got some others in the works. Let me pull it up here, and I'll drop a link in the chat if that's okay, Cisco.
Sure, honey, please do. But look at this. Look at this poor kid clutching this squirrel. Yeah.
And then there's the dead soldier and stuff, but still, all the stuff leading up to that, I don't know about it. Like I said, it's not the most comforting thing to watch before you get on an airplane.
I don't know, man. Just there's something wrong here.
There in the chat, that's a link to the video that I made about the Denver airport that'll it'll kind of curl your hair
Excellent.
in a few places. There.
Yep, there you go. And now I've heard people, I won't say their names, that actually been there and went down some of those back doors. And he got down, I think, 2 of the metal stairs that go, so basically 2 turns. So that would be like 2 levels down in a regular staircase, I guess. And people started running up, I mean, and they didn't treat him too well. He was detained for a long time,
Yeah,
but
you're
he
not
never
supposed to
made
be
it
down
down.
there.
And, there's something wrong. There's something definitely wrong. And if you
There's
know
weird
about like the
stuff like
property
that
that was
everywhere.
bought and the way it was done. Oh gosh, yeah.
I had some
Gosh.
kids take me out to what had once been a strip mine in southeastern Kentucky, and there was a little thing there that looked like a guard shack or something. And I don't know if they broke in or it was unlocked, but they took me in. We went down, I don't know how many flights of those, go down to landing, walk, go down to landing, go down. And we got down so far it was flooded and couldn't go any farther. But they said when it wasn't flooded, there were hallways and stuff down there with doors and things. What
This
on
is
earth is
true.
that? Why would somebody build that? Well, what better place than southeastern Kentucky where there's coal mining going on? And this wasn't any kind of coal mine thing. This was something else. They called it the bunker. That was back in the early 90s.
100%. Now that's true. I don't know if anybody got to see that, but there were several different contractors who work on Denver Airport, almost like one part. So it's compartmentalized. And now, who do we know that we did a show on not too long ago, in Chicago, 1983, built a murder mansion, did the same thing where he hired H.H. Holmes.
I don't believe it was 1983, but
What'd
it
I
was
say? 1883, 1893.
H.H. Holmes.
H.H. Holmes.
That's how he built his murder castle and had all those hidden places and and trap doors
Different
and everything.
contractors
Somebody
to build
else
each
that
part.
did that for a different reason. Sarah Winchester.
Yes.
When she had her house built, she had different crews working around the clock. None of them knew what they were doing.
No.
Just go do this, go build this. She'd sketch something out on a napkin, hand it to one of the foremen.
Yep.
And then he'd take his crew and go build that. The other crews didn't know what that crew was doing. Hers was to confuse the spirits, but I think H.H. Holmes, that was to confuse his victims, and sounds like the Denver airport's maybe to confuse us.
They did have special places for him, Ted. I don't know why we stopped doing that. They're out on the streets now. And it's crazy, right? That's what I'm saying. Atlantis, right? So think about it. That's why it's so important. Feed the birds.
Hey, Malliard Report. How you doing, buddy? I was on your show a long time ago.
Look who it is. Look, it's Duck. How you doing, sweetie? Yeah,
Jim,
it's crazy stuff.
And that's first name, buddy. Jim Malliard. I was on your show back when I think my first book had came out, and
he's a great
you had
guy.
me on. He is. He really is.
He's a veteran in the podcasting world. That's for sure. I mean, if anybody isn't watching that show, get over there and watch the Malliard Report. Please do. I forget what night. If you want to drop a link, sweetie, drop a link to your show. It's a fantastic show. He knows what he's doing. He has great guests, and it really is something.
He doesn't have a rich. I think it'll hold it, but one of the mods can release it.
Yeah, he says a long time ago. Yep.
Good to see you too, buddy.
Yeah, he called me not too long ago. It was right before Halloween. I was so busy at work, I couldn't do it, and I feel so bad. I was just thinking about you today too, and I'm thinking, gosh, I hope I didn't turn you down before. I know it's usually Halloween, Christmas, New Year's. Now I'm going to get slowed down, and then Valentine's comes, and then it takes all summer to get over that mess. But absolutely, I'd love to get on.
Penny Royal, that area of Somerset, where that bunker was that I was talking about, that's not too far from the Penny Royal. That is a strange place. Check out the Penny Royal podcast with Nathan Isaac. He's got a group on Facebook called the Liminal Lodge. It's a secret group. But I think if you just search for it, you can find it. And they talk about all kinds of stuff you would not believe. I mean, the Green Man, all this crazy stuff that's going on in this tiny little town in southeastern Kentucky.
H.H. Holmes was accused. There was the quick version of that is a descendant. I believe it was a great-great-grandson. I don't know if I have that correct. Guy found out he was related to H.H. Holmes, and then he decided that H.H. Holmes left Chicago for a short period of time and was over in London. He could prove that he was on the boat, on the ship, and all this other stuff. And he thinks that he was trying to make the connection. Has a great TED talk on it, and they did a big show and dug up the body and talked to the skull and did all the things. And I personally, digging into that H.H. Holmes story, I got with a reporter that's there in Chicago, still active in the historical department there. That's the first people I call, because first of all, they're there and they know what they're doing. They're around the stuff all day long. And you talk to everybody in the historical society, when the museum or whatever it is, right before it opens, or right, later in the afternoon, and they're more than willing to talk to you. But this guy has paperwork that absolutely proves that H.H. Holmes was in Chicago during the times of the Ripper.
H.H. Holmes, who described himself as a devil, claimed he murdered 27 women. Furthermore, a lawyer and former U.S. Naval Reserve Commander Jeff Mudgett claimed that H.H. Holmes, who was his great-great-grandfather, was Jack the Ripper. So who knows?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That may have more information may have come to light since that article was written, but
so true.
There are some allegations there.
Just like anything else,
the Ripper just left.
I could talk about this here pack of cigarettes, and I could focus on one thing on that, and I could sell you on the fact that it's yellow. First of all, I have no idea what this company's doing with their colors. Their colors make no freaking sense. So, American Spirit, if you're listening, could you please make sense out of the colors?
I don't understand the colors. I'm trying to quit, but I smoke the green ones. The
green ones. That's is that menthol? You would assume that's menthol. Is it
mellow menthol? Now they're
mellow
dark
menthol.
Green. That's like a harsh menthol. That's
mine
terrible.
are mellow yellow. But then there's again,
if there is such a thing as a safer cigarette, these are it. And I'm not advocating anybody take up smoking.
I'm not either, but I can tell you right now,
if you're going to smoke, switch to those organic tobacco, purified water, and in my case, organic menthol. There's no additives, paper. There's no fillers, there's none of the crap that you get in a Marlboro. Or there's stuff in regular cigarettes that's akin to jet fuel and all kinds of carcinogens other than the burning
over
tobacco.
3,000 different chemicals in it. There's just 28. The last count I did, there was 28 chemicals in a cigarette just to make it burn faster, so you'll smoke more cigarettes.
Yeah, and these don't do that. These, you lay them down, they'll go out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're packed tight. You can take a couple of puffs, butt it out, and go back.
That's why you see me like the same one. I want a cigarette now. That's why you see me like so many, and they last longer.
The filter.
When I used to go out and take a cigarette break at work or something, I couldn't smoke the whole cigarette. And y'all remember that song, Dixon Doe? I had that 45. Call me Mellow Yellow.
Is that Donovan?
Yeah. Yep. Donovan. And he said something in the background. I still can't figure out what it was. That's right, quick, or something in the back. If anybody knows what he says in the background of that song, I'd love to know. But the thing about American Spirit, and this will knock your moccasins off, they're so, if you have the organic ones, so when you go to see an elder, you never go empty handed. You always go bringing a gift, so it's going to be something that you think is worthy, so it would be tobacco. You throw tobacco on the drum to send prayers up in the drum circle and things like that. This tobacco, it's okay to bring this, and they won't take anything that isn't pure, so don't bring them a pack of Marlboro.
Quite rightly is what he says.
Quite rightly?
Yeah.
Is it?
I have no idea what that means, but that's what he says.
Quite rightly.
Behind the verse to call me Mellow Yellow. But yeah,
one day
I've
sing the
got
blues
a
for
friend
you.
that lives up near Mount Shasta, Bravehorn. I don't know if he comes to these shows, but he's a Modoc, member of the Modoc tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went and met him back in March, when I was headed down to San Francisco to speak at that UFO convention, I spent a couple of nights in the Shasta area, met him, took him up a regular pack. I asked him if he smoked menthol or whatever. He said, I smoke anything. But he was happy to receive a gift of tobacco, and he knew, because I'm part Cherokee. Tobacco, that's a sacred thing to all these Native American tribes and indigenous peoples.
One of the things
I had and some stickers, but the tobacco,
was it, man. Well, it means something. It really does, because it got, again, like anything else, if you think about when settlers came over, I'll call them settlers. They came over, they're trying to understand, well, that's how you got the word medicine. Like, I'm going to go get some medicine to heal me, because it got bastardized off of the medicine man was the one who came in who had, or the medicine woman that had the medicine, the characteristics, the healing characteristics. You see how they mess with stuff? And then they take, they find out you're chewing on a white willow bark branch. Well, why? I got a headache. Well, I'm not going to have it now because the white willow bark is, has it in there. Well, that's the active ingredient in aspirin. And all they do is keep changing the prescription.
Well, and they've synthesized it now that it's not willow bark anymore, but that's what it used to be. But the synthetic stuff, that'll kill you quicker than anything.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like
Case of beer, $65.
Where are you at?
I don't know. Sapphire said a case of beer.
What did those cigarettes cost you in New Jersey, Cisco?
I think they're up to 11. I think
that's
they're up
about
to 11.
What they are here, but lately been finding them with $1 off pre-printed on it. Pay
how
10,
nice.
10 something a pack.
Well, that's because Jersey's going to squeeze the Eagle
Speedway and places like that. If you buy 2 packs, they'll give you $1 off. But there's places where they're
that's true.
High.
And they were using nicotine patches to cure the coof too. Oddly enough, Oh, here's something I want to tell you about that. Now I have to talk in code, so everybody listen close. Okay, I'll be very careful how I say that. When we're talking about Denver Airport and all these other things, and we're talking about, stuff that, like why they wouldn't let this guy, go down and get what was in the, outside the Sphinx and the, all that stuff. Well, they don't want you to know. Why do you think when they went through the war, they were killing all these religious items and all these icons and things that give people hope and people, that give people, they need to see stuff, I guess, for faith. I don't. But so the thing is I want you to know the depth. Okay, this is hard hitting, but I need to tell you this. When we were talking about cat's claw, it reminded me and it came to me that I should say this. So I kind of fought with myself and I said, I'm going to say it because somebody needs to hear it. Okay. First of all, when it got out, the cat's claw was working, and again, I'm not a doctor. Don't even play on one on TV. Don't want to be one. It started to not be sold in large places. Ted, you know what I'm talking about. So after all this mess, you couldn't get it anymore. It got harder to get. Now, I've watched this for 30 years. I can tell you the progression of this. I know what it can do. And if you go watch the movie Medicine Man with Sean Connery, they don't mention the herb, but that's the one they're talking about. It's Mother Nature's kitchen only. It can't be reproduced in a lab. Some things are just bigger than science. So when this last big flu thing came through, it wasn't Mother Nature's kitchen. And this is how it convinced me, because within that, if you were on board with some of the things that we talk about here, and you knew to take certain things like, say, elderberry to help you get over a cold. Did you notice how elderberry got real big real quick? Pretty soon it was in cough drops and syrups and Cepacol and all these different things. Because why? It works. There was a little extra bug in this one that if you took that, it would reproduce faster in the things that you breathe with.
In other words, it was engineered.
You damn fucking Skippy it was. And also meant to take out. Do you get what I'm saying here? Yep. And so that's why right away, the first minute I heard that, I got on the horn and I started saying, don't give anybody that. Don't give anybody else, because everybody was going to that. And that, to me, that's fucking war. Do you know what I'm saying? That's like, okay, now you got to sharpen your and think, because if you've got something that's working and all of a sudden you can't get it anywhere, and then these large corp whatever stop selling it, like dead, full stop. It wasn't like so that makes me want it more. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I said cat's claw. And, a lot of things Linda was saying here, all true. It depends on the type, but that stuff you have to go outside, go to like look for clinical testing in Brazil, Canada, France, Africa, and around there, and you'll be surprised at the stuff that they'll find in
And that's
clinical
like
studies.
there's so many medicines that work that are available in other countries, but
Mm-hmm.
FDA will never be approved here.
Mm-hmm.
There's more money in the treatment than there is the cure.
And a lot of things you guys were saying here about, wonder why I've never seen so many commercials for pharmaceuticals. I don't watch regular TV. Every once in a while, somebody will put a game on or something, and you got the commercials in between or whatever. Or I'll watch YouTube and it'll pop up there. Crazy. But I've never in my life. I mean, because now they just want you to do the selling for you. They want you to go in and go, do you go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning? I got that shit. I need that. And then you go to the doctor and you say, I want this,
ask your doctor. Ask your doctor. And then you've got these drug reps that go around to the doctors, because I worked in the medical field too, did support for, we were a medical management group that handled 35 remote doctors' offices. I'd see those drug reps. They come in, they buy you lunch, they give you samples, they give the doctor football tickets, and a lot of them get kickbacks. If you prescribe so much of this drug, we'll take care of you. We got you. And it's not right. And if you look at some of the laundry list of side effects that some of this stuff can cause, a lot of times I think you're just better off soldiering through whatever you got than treating it with something that's going to give you, kidney failure, oily discharge, black death, plague, whatever, the side effects are. And then some stuff will say that, up to and including death, that you can take a pill to make something better and die from it.
Yeah. It says we were interrupted and we got stopped, but I don't
Something's
see
wrong,
it.
folks.
It's possible. Yeah, there's something wrong. Well, the thing is the lovely poem that Steve shared with us that night about the Granny Witch, and I redid it for Halloween, and I put it in one of the grab bags there, and I spoke over it. When I read that, I mean, you could almost hear in my voice. It touched my heart, because the thing is we're not peaches, we're not weak, we're warriors, and we made it this far,
easily
learned
bruised
some stuff. right there you go. It's beautiful.
Now Linda Stockton is saying they outlawed drug rep accounts in the early 2000s. Now see, I was in it before all that, so maybe they don't have drug rep. They were just a plague on the whole medical field anyway.
Yeah, it's I think I've seen that one, Old Religion. I know exactly what you're talking about, honey. It is very important information.
And
if you got a link, it is very important information.
The ARB doctor would tell you that if there's something out there that'll hurt you, there's something close by that'll cure it or fix it.
Right there. In a lot of in a lot of cases, it's growing right next to it.
There's something.
This is
where
why
the
you need to be.
There's stuff that you can treat it with, and like poison ivy, there's something that grows near there, and that's just the way nature is. Nature balances itself out.
Yep. Yeah, that's so true, Aunt Edna. I'll tell you what, little story coming back in Alabama, and it was, I can't remember, it was like right after church, 1:30, something like that. And I'm watching this guy. Yeah. And I'm watching a guy put weed killer on his lawn, because who wants dandelions, right? And I'm thinking, I told my sons, and I said, now when I look at something like that, these are the things I think. And it's like right after church, he might have gone with his elder mother or father that might be starting to get Alzheimer's, and maybe he went to visit them at the nursing home, and wondered, God, if there was only something I could get her or get him that would help ease this Alzheimer's and the decalcify on the thing. Dandelion root, you're killing it in your lawn. I'm just saying, that's the ironic.
That's one of the things
I see every day.
You don't want these dandelions. We've got a spray for that. We've got a poison for that. Get rid of dandelions. They're a flower. They're pretty. Why do you want to kill dandelions? Ever think about that?
It is very important. And I'll tell you something, Old Religion, on the video you were talking about. I know exactly what you mean. And when they came out with that, I was so in tune with it, because I'm envenomized from the Blair recluse. I mean, you have no idea.
You got
So
spider senses now.
everything that they were saying, I was like, yup, because I had to do a lot. Nobody knew about it. And I had to constantly call, like, the number one, for envenomization is in LA, in the hospital in LA. And I would call there and I would talk to the staff and stuff. And like, have you ever heard this happening? I was like, oh, no. I said, well, write it down because it happens, and I worked with a lot of people like that. And, so yeah, I'm all over that, and it didn't go away. It just got covered up with a lot of stuff. But I don't think that they're wrong about that.
And
old
talking
religion. I
about
really
fluoride
don't.
in the water, what
Yeah.
Yvonne Conte said there, that's on point. We'll do
Get
some
a
research
filter.
on that, see what it does to your pineal gland. It calcifies it. That's your third eye. That's the seat of your brain where you're able to have intuitive things that controls a lot of the stuff we don't understand. If you drink fluoride, again, it calcifies that pineal gland. It doesn't function the way it's supposed to.
And
fluoride is poison.
Again, keeping you from what? The supernatural, your connection, your divine spark, do you see what I'm saying? Your right to have these abilities and use your intuition and things like that. It really does make a difference. I mean, if you take an apple today and then you went back 100 years and you took an apple, then the apple's going to be juicy, it's going to be full of nutrients and vitamins, and you take one now that's even in some of the organic cases, it's just it is a mere shadow of what it used to be. What do you think we're like if an apple has that much change? The only thing that we have to hang on to is our divine spark and our light and what makes us unique and what makes us us. That's what we have to hang on to. And don't let anybody put that spark out. You see that they're doing all these different things. Well, what you can do is counteract that with your knowledge, your wisdom, what you do every day, how you carry yourself, how you are, and how you treat nature and connect in with your universe. That's you. I've seen people that were locked in cells that did that. Don't make me pull out my little pink book, because I'll tell you that I don't even need to pull that book out. I believe in the sun, even though it does not shine. I believe in love, even when it is not shown. And I believe in God, even when he does not speak. Those words were scratched and carved into a rock wall with another rock by a skeletal hand found in the dungeons of Auschwitz. And if that person could have that kind of faith and that kind of hope and that kind of drive and that kind of belief in the light in such a darkened, horrible place, who am I to complain? I think about that every day.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There you go. So, Steve, Edgar Cayce, I'll tell you what, after doing this, I mean, I knew a little, but I have a lot of respect for him.
Some of his books, because he's covered a lot of paranormal and supernatural topics, not just the prophecies and things like that. He had a lot of insight on a lot of different things and a lot of other people. I've got a book of his, I think it's called, so it's some strange people or something like that, where he talks about people that had other gifts, people like him that had gifts, but different types of gifts. I can't remember what the name of it was. It's probably long out of print.
I love the way he thought, though. I would love to meet him. He's now one of my 10 that I would like to meet on the other side. People often ask that, like, who would you like to, hopefully there's a dark pub over there, because that's where I'm going to be sitting. And I just want a dark pub with two stools. And, I guess at that point I could drink whiskey again. And I probably won't fight, but, whatever. I'll drink sarsaparilla. That's fine. It's just the atmosphere, and then empty seat, and then different people come and sit in the seat. We just talk for forever. I just enjoy. I'd love to sit and talk to Mark Twain, Ben Franklin,
that's another one.
Lincoln. I mean, aside from loved ones that I haven't seen and that I miss, there's
just
so
looking
many.
At this list of books here. Edgar Cayce on Atlantis. There's a book about him by the guy that was talking about him tonight, his youngest son. Edgar Cayce's Story of Jesus. Edgar Cayce on the power of color, stones, and crystals.
Oh, wow.
I bet that's a
Oh,
good
that
one.
would be a good one to get.
You Can Remember Past Lives by, and I think that's written by his son. My Life as a Seer. Edgar Cayce's Story of Attitude.
Attitude.
The Akashic Records. There's an Edgar Cayce Companion. Reincarnation and Karma. Gems and Stones based on the Edgar Cayce. So, Beyond Death. The Psychic Sense. Edgar Cayce on Healing. Edgar Cayce's Diet and Recipe Book. Boy, I bet that's a
hoot. I'd like to hear that one on healing, because that's what he was to start with. Both him and Nostradamus were healers first. Nostradamus lost his mind when he came back after helping people with the plague. He came back to find out he had lost his whole family to the plague, and it was hard for him to process. I mean, can you imagine?
Guiding lights along the journey of life, the power that symbols and sigils and things can have. Think on these things. I think
I'm going to the library tomorrow.
Auras, an essay on the meanings. Edgar Cayce Reader, Towards a Deeper Meditation. Meditation, Prayer, and Affirmation. No Death, cool. God's Other Door, Dreams and Visions. An Edgar Cayce Health Anthology. I don't want to read that one. His commentary on the Book of Revelation. There's just all manner of books here. And yeah, I'm gonna see what all I can dig up.
That's good. I'm going to go to the library tomorrow. Old Religion is saying, I noticed that when I started consuming ginger, lemon, and lime, my dreams became more vivid. I think primary ingredient is raw ginger. Has anyone else had this similar experience? I have not. Has anybody in the chat? I would say there's definitely something in the lemon. I don't know as far as, does that clean the pituitary gland? I know there's a couple of things that do. But as far as the fluoride, guys, and the water, listen, you can get, a 30, you can build it yourself out of a 5-gallon bucket. There's tens of thousands of videos on YouTube on how to build your own filter with charcoal and things like that. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Charcoal is the main ingredients because it really does absorb. It's hard to get activated charcoal, but you can get it. You can make your own, or you can get them relatively inexpensive. I think a good one, 50, 60, $100, and that's one that's going to last you for a couple of years. But that's just to use for the faucet for drinking water, mixing food, boiling stuff. And then use the rest to wash your hands or clean dishes or whatever, because that way it's not going to affect you. Now, in your shower, there is stage water filters that will take out the chlorine and the fluoride. You just have to look for them, and they're very simple little apparatus. You screw it in the thing, and there's a little replaceable filter, and that will help immensely. You'll see a difference in your skin and your hair and everything else, because once, think about it, chlorine and fluoride, when that heats up, it's causing basically steam, like a gas, right? And your body, your skin is your largest organ, and it absorbs anything that goes onto it. So you're absorbing what, about 2-3, 8-ounce glasses of water, while you're taking a shower, depending on how long your shower is. Of course, it's going back and forth. It's not a clinical study, but think about that. So just those two things, and you can make it work. Even if you're getting rainwater, you're going to have to filter it somehow. So look up on YouTube how to build a 5-gallon bucket filter, or to get one if it's easier for you, money wise, because they are out there. I've used them and they're fantastic. You don't have to get the whole house system, and they have those and they're fantastic. And I'm hearing from a lot of people that the Berkey's not what, everything it's said to be. So look past that one and see what you think. Read some reviews, and, don't just jump, Yeah. Oh, I do remember that in school. They used to give us the tablets, and you chew them, and they turn your teeth pink and red. Remember doing that in school? I don't know if they do it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they care about kids anymore.
Show you where you needed to brush your teeth more and stuff.
Okay, so activated charcoal is just burnt wood that's been cooked a bit. Okay, I don't know. Tinsmith's charcoal. Okay, because I have it in a smaller thing that I had to get from the herbal store, because that's what I used on, I use it to draw stuff out. because it just pulls all kinds of, poisons out when I had the bites and stuff. And I keep it because I can, if anybody gets bit by a spider, immediately it gets the charcoal and the other herb oils and stuff to start drawing that stuff out. Raw honey every day, that's great, along with grass-fed butter. Oh, that's nice. But it sounds good. I'm coming to your house. You got some good stuff over there. He's got all the produce and grass-fed butter and stuff. Sounds lovely.
Yep.
But
no
there
honey.
you go.
Can't beat that
So
stuff.
what am I predicting for this? Out of all of this, I had one more little short one I'm going to show you here, and then we're out of here. But I wanted you to hear from Gene Dixon's mouth, because this is what happens. I think it happened with a lot of psychics of today. Like John Edwards went out there, and I hear people going, "Oh, that guy, he does this, he does this, he does this." Sylvie Brand does this is a James Bond product, this, and all these guys. Okay, they're all not frauds. I have very good friends with abilities, and they suffer through that kind of stuff all the time. Here's the deal. You're always going to have people that don't believe. That's fine. They have a right to believe what they want to believe. That's their right. And don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We see this, and I'm not saying that Nostradamus was wrong. I'm saying that both Nostradamus and Edgar Cayce both, and I believe Miss Dixon also has said that we all have these abilities. However, we also have the ability to change our future. Most of the time, people tell you things that are coming to get you off of that path, to back you up, to maybe not take that turn and go another way on your journey, because this might happen. I've had people tell me that, okay, well, you're getting into, something with this woman, and that's not going to work out. Well, I was already halfway in it, and I just figured, okay, I'll go ahead and fit it. And she was right. It definitely didn't work out, and it was hard, but I learned a lot of things from it. I kind of gleaned what I could from it, and there it goes. And I learned from that experience, but, I just learned to leave people alone. I can't change them, but I just don't want them in my life. It's just the way it is. I know who you are, and it's like that personality. I'm not a part of it. It's not that I hate them or anything like that, and I still see this woman. It just wasn't something that was going to work. And the woman told me that, and she told me, you can change this. And I said, well, now I'm going to be more cautious, and I won't do the other things I was going to do. We'll see how this works, and, and play it out. And that's how I took that information. So that's basically what they're saying, that it doesn't mean that all of this is going to happen. And, again, I don't want y'all to believe all this fear mongering BS. Assess, take the information, put it in your Rolodex, go on about your day, do the happy things, focus on what makes you happy, what makes your home to continue to the next day. And if you got to take it 5 minutes at a time, do so, day at a time, whatever is right for you. But try not to get bogged down with all this, because I saw a lot of people really losing their minds and really scared because of some of these videos. And, it's really irresponsible, I think, to do that. But that's just me. It's my opinion. But people are on the edge right now. And I think giving people hope, not hopium or false hope, just hope, because if I was in the front lines of a battle in a war, I'd be sitting in the foxhole, and I would be motivating everybody in that foxhole to the last man, to the last woman, to the last bullet, to the last, because that's just me. And I think that we need to motivate each other to stay in the light, because that's the number one thing that they want to put out is everybody's light. And I refuse. I absolutely refuse. And if I have anything to say about it and you guys are feeling a little dim, you come in here on Saturday or Monday night, and we're going to talk about some crazy stuff, but we're going to try to end it in a way that you feel like, okay, I have that information. This is what I'm going to personally do with it. And I'm going to, I'm going to put it in my knowledge and, file it away in case I need it. But I'm going to go do these things because this is what I can do to make my day better and make myself a better person. And that was something that Edgar Cayce said too. He said, year after year, I just want to be a better man. And I love the fact that he walked away from the people that were trying to profit off of him. I think that Gene Dixon got caught up in a lot of stuff, but what you may not know that in 1952, and I'm going to let her tell you the story out of her mouth, she had a full-on vision. She says it's different to have a prophecy and something else she called. I can't remember what it was, but she said the visions of the prophecy was two different things. She saw it two different ways. And her guides, of course, at that time, she didn't say guides. She would say angels, and she would say things like that because they just weren't ready back then to hear stuff like that. But at least some people. And she was very prominent and going in and out of the White House and things like this. But in 1952, she had a vision of President Kennedy being shot. And nobody believed her, just like we were saying last night. What do you do with this? You know? So here it is. The bless her heart. She made a little record. And I can't believe that they're going to let me play this, but they are. So here we go. And Miss Jean Dixon, everybody, in her own words.
I am told that I have a gift of prophecy. When I was 8 years of age, a gypsy took my hands, turned them over, and gasped. "You're going to be very famous," she said. "You will be able to foresee worldwide events because you are blessed with the gift of prophecy, the gift of visions of things to come." I remember that even as a child I had such visions. It was some time before I realized that even though God has a divine plan for each and every one of us, He had not blessed everyone with the same gift of foreseeing events. Visions are not a form of psychic phenomena. They come directly from the Supreme Being in His own good time, not ours. I wish I could fully describe to you how I feel when a vision is revealed to me. I am bathed in a warm, soft light. There is a peacefulness and a feeling of love that permeates my entire being. I stand alone, completely apart from everything earthly. I am calm yet receptive, waiting for what is to be revealed. Let me recount for you one of my visions that has aroused a great deal of discussion. The assassination of President Kennedy. This was a vision, not a psychic experience. The vision of President Kennedy was given to me while I was in prayer at St. Matthew's Cathedral in Washington, D.C. on August the 18th, 1952, more than a decade before the tragedy. I was blessed with this vision, showing me the White House with a very thick and heavy black cloud ponderously hanging over it, then draping itself slowly but surely around it. The number 1960 was prominently displayed in this detailed vision, showing me that the man to be sworn in as president would be a youthful Democrat with blue eyes, and he would be assassinated. I knew this vision was revealed to tell the world its purpose yet unknown. 3 weeks before the assassination, I was shown the last name of the assassin. On the Sunday preceding that fatal Friday, the ominous cloud started to descend upon the White House. I was being shown that the time was drawing near. I searched in my mind for someone who would convey to him the danger he was in, someone he would take seriously. This would not be easy, because in public life, as we all realize, one cannot listen to every warning. My duty was clear. I must get word to the president through an old friend of the Kennedy family whom I knew. I appealed to her to persuade the president to give up his plans for his trip to the Southwest. The trip had not been announced as yet, so her first response was, "What trip?" The days before that Friday, I spoke to everyone I met about the only thing I had on my mind. I could think and speak of nothing else. Friday morning, I told Inspector Charles Venter, "This is the day."
Well, that was dramatic as all get out, wasn't it? There's the baby. Say hi, spirit. So everybody just needs to lift their spirit, right? lifted high, and have a wonderful 2023. Don't worry about all these rotten prophecies, right? What do you think is going to happen in 2023, right? What do you think? You're going to get a lot of good foods, a lot of cool toys, and lots of kisses. That one's going to come true. All right, guys. I love you so much. And there you go with Gene Dixon. Now, the thing that you might not know about that, and I'm going to give you a little, they're sending you lots of love, sweetheart. You're very loved from around the world. Isn't that wonderful? It's just so nice. He loves y'all back. Spirit is just a lovey bumpkin. But I'll tell you what, Boo is he's a snuggler. He's coming into a snuggling, where he feels cool to snuggle. That's nice, because he feels safe. And, remember, they were born in a cage. They didn't even know what grass was. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that, But, and Helen Wheels, that's my other kitty. She was trying to show him how to eat the grass, and she's like chewing it and looking at him like, this is what you do. You eat the grass. And they're like, she's crazy. What is she doing? It's, little things. They're just getting used to all the birds coming to the bird feeder. I've got bird feeders in every window so they can see. And, you open the window and they're breathing the air. And I'm like, God, that's the first time they've ever really breathed fresh air. They were born at the pound. So, introducing them to stuff like that. Wait till they see chipmunks. It's gonna be fantastic, right? But they're sending new love, Spirit. So that's Miss Jean Dixon. Now, when she was talking about, she said something very profound there that means a lot to me because, of course, I've been studying the JFK assassination forever, and she did go to a friend who knew the Kennedys and somebody that worked at the White House, and she went up to him and she said, when they're going to the South, meaning, of course, Dallas, Texas, and she was a little bit more specific on that. She kind of cut it back for this record. But the lady said, what trip? Because he had already been. Okay, he had already been in April. Why do I need to go back to Texas? Something you guys might not know, and this can be proven in many documents and, multiple, not some of these books that they want you to read, but the ones that you got to dig to read and to match everything up. Somebody named Governor Connolly and somebody you might know that had the initials LBJ actually went to the White House. Okay, this is when LBJ was a VP. And they were in the Oval Office and screaming at Kennedy and trying to get him to commit to go back to Dallas, okay, at the end in the fall, in November. And he was saying, I don't need to go back to Dallas. I've got this and this and this and this is going on. And they actually had a heated fight in the Oval Office, and they broke Kennedy down till he said he would go back to Dallas. And this is Connolly and LBJ. And his wife, what was his wife's name?
Lady Bird.
No, that's Johnson's. Kennedy's.
Kennedy,
I can see her face.
Jackie O.
Jackie O. She said in a later conversation that was the loudest argument she says, I've seen some things at the White House, and let me tell you, girls, she saw some things. But she said that was the most heated argument she has ever heard come out of the Oval Office. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
There are no coincidences.
So what Miss Jean Dixon was trying to do was prevent it, and then you had other people that were trying to make it happen. So I'll just leave it there and let you think about who that was, because like the wonderful Jim Marrs used to say, they say, well, did the Secret Service did it? Did this person do it? Did they did it? Did this guy do it? Did this one? And Jim Marrs go, yeah. And that's what it boils down to.
Yes, all the above.
There's definitely some key players there, but we'll see if we can't do a show on that. But that's going to be a block. I'll tell you, that was like 4 shows, 2-3 hours a piece. But, because it's so in depth, and, the amount of knowledge I have on that, it stagger a team of oxen, let me just tell you. So that being said, Miss Jane Dixon did try. Of course, they approached her and said, do these little shows like the one I, had up there for you. But she did everything with class and she could tell by her demeanor and the way she spoke, she was extremely ladylike, and she was very loving about the whole thing. And she gets a bad rap because a lot of people that are around now know her later on, but I think she held her own, and she was very accurate, and she got the same kind of deal like Sylvia Brown did. And I just think we need to look at people with a little bit more.
Now, is she the one that was the astrologer, or am I thinking of somebody else?
Yeah, a lot of them are,
There
and
was
that's
one
just
that
something
used
I
to write
don't
in the
understand.
paper, and I think it was Jean Dixon, and she'd say,
Yeah,
and I may have
big.
this reversed, but the stars don't compel, they impel. What you do is entirely up to you.
There you go.
Or largely up to you, however she
Yep.
said it.
So
And
as much
I
as
just,
they'd like to tell you that you don't have control, you still do.
so Sir Brian Bowden, he was in here earlier, wasn't he? Or has he been here tonight?
He was here last night. I didn't see him
I
tonight.
got a message from him on Messenger. Extremely important. This will be out of the blue, but it's extremely important you pay close attention and do what I'm telling you to do, especially if you have young kids. You need to go out yesterday and get as much Tylenol, Advil, aspirin, kids Tylenol, kids Advil, kids aspirin as you can, and enough that will last you if there's none left for a year. Also ask you to stock up on necessities like water, dry food, vitamins, pew-pews, and the things that go in pew-pews. And do not wait. And that's from Sir Brian, and he's intuitive. He knows his beans.
Yeah, he does. And he was saying that last night, and I totally agree. And I just told everybody, look, if you're having it tough, you're just coming out of the holidays. We didn't even put up a tree this year. I put up my mother's manger, and I got a little tree for the kids first, because I just wanted to save money and put money where it needed to go. I was trying to be smart, and my hands hurt so daggone bad. I just couldn't do as much as I normally did. And I put up what was important to me, and we still had a lovely day. We still did, a couple things, it was lovely. And I think that's the whole thing. It is what you make it, Try not to keep in mind, soap operas were put up not just to keep housewives busy. It was everything has been orchestrated to kind of get you in the mindset that you're just not happy no matter what you do. You have to have a better car. You have to have more stuff. And I started at Christmas telling you all and showing you movies and stuff of families who had nothing, like during the Depression, but they seemed happier with less. We got to get back to that love connection, that light, and enjoying the company that we're with, or get new company, and, connect into nature and just be glad and so thankful for what we have, Oh, wow. And Edna, yes, that was it. I put up my mama's manger. I figured that was the most important thing to me. Lit a candle and, put a bow on the door and said, here we go. And that was just it was what it was this year, because I bought more important things. But please listen to Brian. Again,
stock up,
do what you can.
Do it anyway.
Do what you can.
Cathita, is she still here? There was something that came across her Facebook feed today that I shared out on my Facebook, and it spoke to me on several levels about some stuff I've got going on, some side ventures that I'm into. Stop being afraid of what could go wrong, and start being excited about what could go right. Boy,
amen.
Those words to live by. That's
and what is
Ruby
right?
Robbins. And
she's here, honey.
Okay. And also got a message from Tiger Lily. She's going to bed. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Tiger Lily.
Love you, baby. Heat up the skillet because Daddy's bringing home the bacon.
There you go. And I'm gonna now. What was this guy's name again? The Great Who?
What now?
The guy from Planet Nine, whatever his name is,
Ed Wood, the Great Criswell, the Amazing
the
Criswell,
Great Criswell.
whatever he was.
I'm gonna let him take us out tonight. I think that's apropos. So I love you all. Please don't be scared. Don't be scared. Be prepared, and do what you can. And then I want you to look around and name 3 things that you are grateful for that have nothing to do with you. I'm grateful for that picture that I have. That it was like just the one picture that survived of my mother, and how sad is that? I don't sit there and go, oh, I wish I had more. I have pictures right here and right here, but I have that one and I'm able to pass that down. Little things like that. I'm grateful that, I know that Mr. Dickens led me to these little faces, and I'm grateful that they're happy and, and love. And of course, of all my loved ones, that I'm happy or healthy. I did get a report on that young man, that he has been taken to the hospital. He's in critical condition. I don't know what's wrong, but send prayers out to him and his family tonight, and everybody that's needing a little extra love.
I don't remember what his name was, but
Yeah.
DeMar for the Bills. God knows who he is.
Yep, he sure does, and he knows what he needs, and we're aware, and we're watching, and we see it. We see it. We see you.
And I hope it wasn't performance enhancing drugs or something like that a lot of these athletes just
We'll never know the truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll never know the truth. But there's that. So Cats on Parade, hello, welcome. If I didn't see, I apologize. But I'm so very glad that y'all came in tonight.
I didn't even see you in here tonight.
Yeah. I like Donnie's thing too. He said his prophecy or hope or something was to not write 2022 on anything he's got to fill in. I do that for about 6 months.
Yeah, I haven't had to write it yet, but I'll do the same thing if I'm not careful.
Yep, there you go. Well, the great Griswold's going to take us out of here. Steve, I love you terrible.
Love
and
you,
Mulder and everybody there, we love you so much.
Mulder,
glad to see you
Nurse
happy.
Mittens is in by the fireplace.
And that
Mulder
changing
and I are
background.
go join her in a minute. And
yeah.
I don't know what's because the light hasn't flickered, but I've got the blur on because there's some paint chips that I need to touch up, and I think it's because I've got my background blurred that it's.
Oh, and maybe that's that. I like it. I think it's funky.
But if I'm certain, see there, it changed.
Yep. It's a focus.
It's the background. It's not the light. Because the light,
it's the focus of the camera, probably.
I don't even have my studio lights on tonight.
Yep. But that's probably what's going on. But I thought this was real interesting to go from Nostradamus to Edgar Cayce and all these people in between, and a couple of the modern ones too, and predictions. I didn't know. I didn't get a chance to ask you about Tanahoe out of Hawaii. Did you know that he did that? He was live on a radio show 90 minutes before the Oklahoma bombing and predicted it.
I've heard it.
Right down to the building.
Of it. Yeah, he either had some insider knowledge or he's got a gift and a half.
Well, he spent about 8 hours in interrogation. So there you go. But I love you, everybody. Don't worry about resolutions. Worry about just making every day a little bit better. And for you personally. And if you make it better for you personally, it can't help but radiate out. And it's going to affect other people. So just keep smiling because it makes them crazy. I love you all. Keep your feet under the covers. Keep the closet doors shut. There are things that go bump in the night.
Everybody. Love
Good night.
Y'all. See you next Monday.
Good night, sweetheart.
Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And remember, my friend, future events such as these will affect you in the future. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here. And now, for the first time, we are bringing to you the full story of what happened on that fateful day.
Have any